Hello, hello, and welcome back to the most amazing marketing book ever's live podcast, 24 hours of amazing marketing ideas. My name is Cami Hueza, and I'm going to be your host today. And as you see on the screen, I'm about to bring in Frank and Marcy as our first authors. Hi, how are you guys doing?
Hi,
Hey, how are
Cami.
things?
Oh, I didn't mean to take you out. So, your
Shortest
your
live stream
identity is
ever.
Frank and Marcy. That's gonna. My first question is gonna be, what's with this Frank and Marcy identity? I want to know all about that.
Yeah, well, you know, so I used to go by just Frank Prendergast. Then I am also an actor, and I decided at some point, you know what, I'm going to create a brand for the kind of marketing and web design side of things. And then, so I created this thing called Blam. And then when we started working together, we talked about it and we thought, yeah, we'll just keep that brand. But everything we believe in is about like humanistic marketing, about bringing the people out, bringing the people front and center. Plus, even though we were Blam, everybody used to say, oh, you should talk to Frank and Marcy, you should talk to Frank and Marcy, you should talk to Frank and Marcy. So we just said, well, we're clearly Frank and Marcy. Why don't we just rebrand to Frank and Marcy?
I love it. I love that you actually listened to people and you used what you heard from your audience to create your brand. I think that's really powerful. And the two of you, I've gotten to know you over the last year or so, and I see very well that you're such great brand makers. It's just something you do really well, especially you, Frank. You and I've worked a lot on the branding of this, for example, the branding of the most amazing marketing book ever and everything else. And so it's been really, really fun to see that. So I just want to talk a little bit about your chapter because it kind of goes into that. And that is about marketing research. So you just said, you heard what people said and you used it. So can you tell me a little bit about why is the marketing research in the most amazing marketing book ever? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so we feel that like every marketing endeavor should start with marketing research because you just learn so much about what your prospects are thinking, and then you can turn that into great marketing that speaks directly to them. So yeah, when we saw that topic, we were like, that's something we feel really strongly about. And especially in the last year or so, like it's become an absolute non-negotiable part of our process. And it's something as well that I think especially a lot of small businesses, they're kind of resistant to it. They kind of feel like, I think there's the pressure that they should have all the answers themselves, and they don't necessarily need to go off and ask their audience or do marketing research. And then once we kind of take them through the process and they see the results that you get from it, the things you learn, and then translating that into marketing, which translates into results, they quickly get on board.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, there's just a weird hurdle. I mean, we've experienced it ourselves. There's a weird hurdle to get over in terms of just reaching out to people and saying, could we chat to you about, why you purchased or why you didn't purchase, or, even reaching out to prospects and saying, look, this is not a sales thing, but I would love to talk to you about what would be useful to you in your business. There's a weird hurdle to get over, and I don't know why, because it's just a really human thing. And once you get over that hurdle, you realize, not everybody, because people are busy, but there are plenty of people who will talk to you and are willing to give you their insights. And yeah, the benefits are just phenomenal.
Yeah. So give me an example of that. Like, give me an example of when something like that worked for you.
So I guess it was about a year ago now. We were working on a website project for a client, and we were redoing her offer. Well, it was actually a new offer. So in a way we were redoing her offer page, but we were also updating the offer. And just, the first thing we did was we just we booked a bunch of interviews with her customers, with her clients, and just questioned them about, what was going on in your life when you started working with her, what motivated you to start working with her, what's changed since, what nearly stopped you from working with her, if anything, and just really dug into all of that. Then we were able to translate that into messaging for the page and copy for the page. And then do you want to talk about the results?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in the first 30 days, there was a 77% increase in leads. And that was like with no
Wow.
change to traffic, anything like that, which was, it was actually phenomenal because, I mean, that sounds great even just in itself, but it was a different offer, as Marcy says. So it was now 10 times the value of the previous offer that was on the site.
Mm.
And the leads were now booked calls, not just a website inquiry form. So the value in those leads was massive. So yeah, it can just absolutely transform your marketing.
Yeah, really interesting that you said that because what I thought was interesting about that was um, she found out the problem was the offer, which I think you don't know that unless you talk to people, right? So the offer wasn't, you had to beef up the offer. I think that's really, really brilliant. So the other thing is she had you do it instead of her having to do it. I think it's
Well,
hard to call somebody up and say, well, you didn't like me. So, like, why don't you like me? It just feels a little bit weird, right?
I think though, I mean, look, we all, as humans, we have very fragile egos. So yes, I totally understand it. But I think, so in acting, one of the things you learn very early on is that if you want to be a great actor, you have to learn to check your ego at the door. And I think that's actually true of so many things. So, check your ego at the door, reach out to someone and say, totally understand that, your different businesses have different needs. I would just love to have a brief chat with you about why you went with X, if you'd be open to it. And I think you'd be surprised that, it's not going to be soul destroying. There are usually just very specific business requirements that cause the decision. And it's really good for you to know what they are.
Yeah, it's great. And so, like, do you prepare the questions ahead of time, or how do you manage that?
Well, for interviews, I kind of have a running list of questions that I work from. But the thing with an interview is you don't really know which way it's going to go. So it's good to be able to kind of stay on your toes and be able to ask the interviewee to go deeper, or sometimes it's like, oh, they just mentioned something really interesting, and you end up going in a way you weren't expecting. So yeah, I always kind of have like my questions to you know keep me on track, but then just leave it open and see where the conversation goes. That's really what's most helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to invite a few or say hello to some people. So we've got some people here today. The Grammar Detective, I like that, from Vancouver, Canada. By the way, Marcy's an amazing writer. We were just talking about that in the back end here. And so you will love Marcy and her grammar. She's amazing. Let's see, who else is here? We have, somebody from a Facebook user. Bought the book today. Thank you guys so much for buying the book. And while we're at it, I might as well throw this up here. Our friend Ian Anderson Gray created this awesome QR code for us. The book is available on Amazon now, and we have a very special price for it for the next week of $2.99, just for you, our VIP audience. Please scan this and grab the book. We also need reviews. So if you guys are somebody that loves to read books and review them, we need your review. Please review our book. We're cool if it's not great, just like Marcy just said. She said we need to hear everything, so put it up. But we'd like you to say it's great, okay? So I'll be honest.
I
But
don't think people
if
will.
it's not, tell us. Let us know. We want to know. I'm just doing my research. Is this the way you do it?
You're doing a great job.
Okay, thank you.
And
Awesome.
I think people will
So
love it.
please scan this and go grab it. Huh?
I think people will love it. I mean, the incredible thing about
Yeah,
this
I do
book is
too.
that, like, with 36 authors, we are so proud to have contributed a chapter. But reading it when it came out, when we got the proof, I had no visibility until then of what the other chapters were like. And man, it is a good read. And it is so,
Yeah.
there is so, just you're turning the page and you're like, ooh, that's a really good idea. I need to make a note of that, and I need to go back and revisit that and do something with that. It really is an amazing marketing book.
It is. I mean, that's why we named it that, I guess. And thank you, Grammar Detective, for and Ian for inviting you. And hi, Walter. This is my friend. Hi, Walter. How are you doing? Glad you're here. He does promotional products. You need to go listen to session 2 because Sandy was in there and she talked about promotional products. in the last session. So you can go back and look at that later. Just send me a DM. I'll link it to you. Also, for those of you who do want to get an instant replay of this, we have created an instant replay. It'll take me a couple of days to put it together because it feeds into this tool called Searchy. It pulls all of the YouTube videos out and puts it into Searchy, and then it makes it searchable. So all of this content from this whole day will be searchable by keywords, by anything. So you have to sign up here to get that because it's going to take me a few days to pull it together. So sign up there. And Marcy's been writing the emails, so she'll probably write an email to you to ask you to come and help us with that. Awesome. So let's talk about the book for a minute. I want to go to your chapter a little bit more about your tips, but first, I kind of want to know why you guys decided to be involved with this project.
Yeah, we were chatting about this the other day, and we were trying to remember. I don't know what the timeline exactly was, but I know it felt like we were very new to the community when the idea came up, and so I think I had started to become active, all right, but I still felt in terms of the book, I was kind of like, well, let's kind of watch what happens a little bit. Maybe we should put ourselves forward, and we were kind of talking about it. And in the meantime, another Rise community member, Joanne Taylor, just sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, "Are you like keeping an eye on what's going on with the book in the Rise community? Because I really think yourself and Marcy should be putting your names forward, and you should do it now." and that was kind of the push we needed. We were like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, we should. Let's just dive in." So we did. So thank you, Joanne, who is another author, and
she ended up being the editor for our chapter as well. So we got to work with her for a week or two on sprucing up our chapter, which was really good.
Well, you have somebody who wants to read it for sure. So, Niam, is that how you say it? Niam? Or something like that? Niam, yeah. Dylan, she says, as the self-proclaimed president of the Marcy and Frank fan club, I cannot wait to get my copy. And I have to be honest, I'm a little bit of a fangirl too. I'm going to be honest. I have become over the time that I've been working with them. It's been really awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, and there's a lot of really great comments here. Thank you so much. This one's too long to put up, but if you want to go look at it, it's marketing research is important. And that's true about checking your ego at the door, says a LinkedIn user. People are sometimes too scared to hear the answers coming out of research and interviews because of their ego. Not only of their ego, they say, but because it may mean they have to fundamentally change something about their offer, and change is hard. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I like to think I'm really good at change, but
yeah.
We love.
What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, again, humans just love consistency and certainty, and we have to work hard to embrace change, I think, but it's just so important. I mean, if there's something fundamentally wrong with your offer, then not changing is the worst thing you could possibly do.
It's better to hear that early on before you're years in and at your wits' end, wondering why, frustrated, wondering why nothing's working. So it's good to get that input early on.
Well, now that you're talking about that, I would like to hear a couple of the tips that you have for people when they're trying to put together some sort of research. So without giving your whole chapter away, because obviously we want people to go read your chapter, tell me a little bit about what that entails, or give me some ideas, a taste, I guess.
Yeah, well, kind of the first thing is like, you're never too big or too small to do marketing research. So it's better to do some than none. And just with, especially in the last few years with the rise of digital tools, like it's become so much more accessible, so much easier. You can hop on Zoom to do interviews. You can, there are so many survey softwares out there that you can run a survey. So it's just familiarizing yourself with those digital tools and getting comfortable with them.
Absolutely, yeah, and just it does not have to be complicated. I think is the biggest thing. There are, as Marcy said, there are such simple tools out there, and just hopping on Zoom and having the conversations. Like we are, when we do marketing research, we have the conversations, we transcribe them, we put them into a spreadsheet, we analyze them, and we look for patterns and we look for language. And that, we would be big, we would recommend that. But at the same time, just doing the conversation, just having the conversation, you will still, you will still glean so much, you will still learn so much. The reason we believe in the spreadsheet approach is because sometimes you can fall prey a little bit to your biases. So you might have a bunch of interviews, you might hear what you already believe, and you can that can cause you to focus in on that. When you do the spreadsheet work, it allows you to see, oh yeah, they did say that, but actually they mentioned this other thing 6 times and I missed it because I was so zoned in on what I thought I was going to hear in the first place. But having said all that, if you just have the conversations and listen, you will still get benefits. So if you need to keep it simple, but start and do it and reach out to people and have the conversations. If you're not comfortable having the conversations, if you haven't kind of got over that hurdle yet, use the survey software, send out, ask for responses in a typed form. There's so many options. The most important thing is just get started, start gathering that feedback.
Yeah, and to have a clear question from when you set out. I think, we're not saying, just start doing marketing research for the sake of marketing research.
No.
Have a goal in mind, have a purpose for it.
Right. And I guess, are you digging for the problems they have? Are you digging for, where are you digging for?
It really just depends on what the project is. So I think, if you were in the process of developing an offer, you would be digging for, well, what problems are people actually having and how can I address those problems? Whereas, in other cases, we've been we've been wondering more like, how does the solution actually fit into the customer's lives? As in, how do they perceive it? What are, we might think they're attracted to it for these reasons, but it might actually be these totally different reasons over here. So, it really just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for pains, problems, if you're looking for desired outcomes, if you're looking for obstacles that get in the way along the buyer's journey. So yeah, it can uncover so many different things.
Yeah.
And the thing
so I like the idea, while you're just starting there, Frank, when you put that into your spreadsheet, could you give me could you show a little bit of the how? Just give me a little bit of a taste of what that looks like.
So the first thing, if it's an interview I've transcribed, I just start breaking things into themes, like, well, this was a driver to purchase, this was an obstacle to purchase, this was, an anxiety that came up along the way that they were able to overcome or that they weren't able to overcome. So I just start, breaking things into those themes, and then within those themes, start looking at the specific things that are coming up. And that's kind of, with interviews, you have a lot of meat to work with. Whereas, with a survey, you might have hundreds of responses. So you're kind of quickly going through, breaking things down into broad themes. And then you start kind of categorizing them more and looking for, well, that's something we didn't expect, or yeah, this kind of falls in line with what, what we were thinking, especially with surveys. And you were alluding to this earlier. I know there was one recently where we were pretty sure that the main objection was going to be price. So when we were just looking at the spreadsheet, we were like, yeah, price is coming up over and over and over. You actually ended up making a pie chart about, for what was mentioned the most, and it was actually location that came up the most. So had we, gone on instinct, we would have been operating under the assumption that price was the biggest objection, when it was like, oh, actually it's something completely different, and we would have been going in the wrong way.
Really, really interesting. It reminds me of the old style focus group research, because that's kind of how you do focus group research. You have a group of people and you categorize everything they say into buckets. That's kind of what it reminds me of. I've done a little bit of that in my past,
exactly.
but so really interesting. Really, really interesting. So that being said, so that's kind of what are people going to get when they read your chapter? What do you expect people to get out of your chapter when they read it?
Well, we really tried to make it as actionable as we possibly could. So I think I think hopefully they will be inspired to get started doing marketing research if they haven't already. And then there's some really solid tips in there, some really simple things you can implement. I think one of the tips we even talk about, like, look, just do this one thing. If you do nothing else, do this one thing. Yeah. So I think there will be there are lots of like concrete takeaways in the chapter that will allow you to just finish reading the chapter and go and start your marketing research straight away, immediately.
That's amazing. That, to me, that's an amazing takeaway. I mean, that's powerful. It could change somebody's whole business, just that one chapter. And that's how what this book is full of. Like it's full of these chapters, and there's something in each chapter that you can take away, and it's meant to be that way. It's structured that way. So, by the way, I just want to let people know, and while I talk about the book, I guess I should put up the QR code about the book. I'm doing my sales, right? My marketing is good. Okay, here we go. So here is the QR code about the book. You can scan this and go grab a copy today. I just ordered my paperback today, and they say they're going to get it to me by Friday. I cannot wait
Nice.
to hold this thing in my hands. Unbelievable. Anyway, so go grab it. But what I think is really interesting about the book is that each chapter is 1,500 words. So they're very actionable. They're very short. You can read them in one sitting. Then you can also flip through and go, like if you're doing something on TikTok, you can go to TikTok. If you're doing something, you're starting a new project, you can go to the marketing research. There's strategy. We have somebody coming up next who started the book. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk to her in a minute. But just, where are you at and what do you need? And you can just open it like a guide. It's like, I think that's the most amazing thing about that book is it's a guide. For anyone, you have to have it like the dictionary on your bookshelf. So I'm excited to have it on my bookshelf for the same reason. And what's cool about all of these authors coming together is that everybody has a different area of expertise. And not any of us can be an expert in all 35 areas that are in there. So, someone scanned the QR code. It said, thank you, whoever you are. Somebody else scan it too. This is cool. Like, so Restream pops up and tells me when you scan. So let me know you're scanning. It makes me happy. Okay, cool. So that's what I'm going to say. So that's my little ad break. And coming back. So that's really it, right? So what do you hope people get? Like just one thing to take away. That's great. Who wrote most of the book chapter?
Oh, that's a really.
I shouldn't have asked that.
That's a really good question because we were laughing. We were laughing about this when we were chatting about coming on. We were like, "Yeah, will we share? Will we share about the big fight we had?"
Oh yes! Oh my gosh, tea.
Because
I've got tea right here. So tea.
We had never. I don't think we'd ever really co-written something before. Like we work. We work on each other's material.
Frank's like an excellent editor. So basically nothing that I write goes out the door until Frank has looked at it, and you always have really good suggestions, and you're really good at pointing out the weaknesses.
And then, meanwhile, I'm learning about writing because I'm nowhere near Marcy's level. So I'm learning from Marcy the whole time. So everything I write goes through Marcy. But we'd never co-written something like that before. And we didn't sit down and figure out how this was going to work.
Yeah, we just sat down and started doing it. So I started my process, Frank started into his process.
And then we were both like, no, we're doing it this way.
So I think in the end, we both pulled equal weight. So
I think you did a lot of work on the tips. I did a lot of work on the introduction, and then we both worked really hard, kind of finessing both parts together.
Yeah.
You may have lost you for a second there. I think you're back.
We had a little bit of an issue, but just say that you said, and then you both, we're back. We're all back. You were kind. I don't know if it was me or you, but one of us had a little bit of a blip. So, anyway, so you worked together and then you kind of went back and forth and it was alchemy. It was alchemy. I love that. I love that it was alchemy. And by the way, guys, if you're asking, if you don't know, yes, these two are married. Okay. So they're a married couple, right? Is that right? Am I wrong?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were married. See, I was making an assumption too. Okay. So I thought so. So I have a question for you. What kind of research are you doing? Old style focus groups, phone interviews, online surveys, what's your favorite method?
Okay, well, so the first question, what kind of research are you doing? So we do a lot of one-to-one interviews over Zoom. We do a lot of survey-based research, and then a lot of online review mining as well, just going on and seeing what people are saying online in reviews or on social media.
And it depends on the project as well. So, for example, we use Hotjar as well, which we would consider marketing research too, especially if
Tell
you're
them what that
working
is.
on.
Tell them what exactly, because that's a heat map. Tell them what that is, right?
Yeah, so Hotjar will show you a heat map of the things that people are paying attention to on your page, and they will also even show you screen recordings of people interacting with your page. And that can be really useful, and particularly as well, it'll show you like scroll depth. So it'll show you that, oh, people are only making it down, to 15% of the way down your page. And so often we will work really hard to make sure that people actually are engaged right throughout the entire page. So we work really hard to get that scroll depth increased, and just watching how people interact and watching what people are pausing on and what people are scrolling past. It's all really useful data.
And just analytics, page analytics as well. So.
And then also, again, if it's an offer page, we will also do research by paying for research to get an initial reaction to the page. So things like, Usability Hub is a great resource. They have things like the 5-second test where you can show someone your headline and just say, what is this page about, and see what comes back. Because if they haven't...
You said that was the Usability Hub? Is that what you said? Usability Hub. I've never heard of that. This is great. I'm like, I need to get my notepad out. That's really good.
It really depends. We're probably missing things as well, because it really depends on the project, what type of data you need to get back.
But I think as far as a favorite method, like by far interviews are my favorite, because you just have that one-to-one interaction, and you can just go as deep as you need to, and just keep, sussing out more and more information, and, just seeing people's body language and hearing the tone of voice, it conveys more meaning.
And the language as well.
The language. Well, you can get that in surveys.
What is it, like 90% of communication is nonverbal, or is it even more than that? You would probably know the percentage, but it's high.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I cannot believe it, but we're at almost the end of your interview. This flew by like so fast. I can't believe it. I'm like, what? The time? Where's the time? Unbelievable. I do want to say a few things. There was one more question. I'm going to say a few things that people said to you, though. Sandy says she's worked in business with her husband for more than 30 years, but she doesn't think she'd write a book with him. All right, then. My husband's great. My husband's Belgian. That's why Yuri and I kind of connect. He was a host earlier today, but he is an amazing editor. Probably because he learned English as a second language. I don't know. It was really, really good. And then
just get the fight over with early, and it'll be fine, Sandy. You just get that fight over with at the start, and then you move on. It's great. We actually joked recently. We had another project, and we were embarking on this project, and we said, right, where do we start? We said, let's start by just getting the fight out of the way, and then we'll move on.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So the Grammar Detective asked something about live streams and getting viewers and struggling. And I this is not what this is about right here, but if you understand what motivates people, you can give them content that they like. So do you want to talk about that real quick?
I'll just say, so I can't really speak about live streaming. This is not something that we do ourselves. But what I will say is that, even for example, on LinkedIn last year, I would run a poll about something. So I get a really simple example would be, I love the ADA framework, attention, interest, desire, action, as a kind of a very, very simple customer journey. It can also be a very, very simple copywriting framework. It's just a lovely framework that can be used for so many things. But I was curious. I was like, well, is everyone sick of hearing about ADA? Because I love its simplicity, but maybe it's just old hat now. So I did a poll, do you know what ADA is? 80% of my audience had no idea. The other 20% was saying, yeah, of course, everybody knows. But 80% said, no, we don't know what ADA is. So the next week, I did a post about ADA. And of course, it did really well because 80% of my audience wanted to hear about it. So you're absolutely right, Camille. I think, do a bit of marketing research, do a live stream on the topics that people are dying to hear about. And I think that would you'd see engagement and viewership rise.
Great. That's ending. We're at exactly 30. You guys did amazing. You did amazing. So I'm going to put up the slide that's the between slide. And then next we're bringing up Samantha Stone. And she actually wrote the beginning of the entire book. She wrote the first chapter, Unreal. So I'm really excited for you to hear her about unleashing your marketing strategy. And strategy is a big deal. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see each other on the back end everywhere, 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 because I rely on you people. So we'll talk to you soon, okay?
This has been so much fun.
And just like that, we have Samantha Stone. So good to see you.
Oh, it's so magical when that happens. It just, turns on.
It just
I'm so excited to be here.
On. Thank you, Ian Anderson Gray, for setting all of this up. I have to keep giving credit to where credit is due because so many people have worked so hard on this. But I'm so glad to see you here and to have a chance to talk with you.
I'm really excited. And I have to tell you, I have never worked on a more collaborative project than this book, because I've done collaboration, of course, with many people, but this was sort of almost overwhelming with the amount of talented people. And I can't believe how well it has gone and how amazing everybody's contributions have been. I feel very grateful to be a part of it.
Same. Thank you so much. So, you got chosen to do the very first chapter of the book. This is really important. This is probably the most important chapter because it gets people pulled in. And I grabbed the Kindle the other day and I opened it up and I started reading your chapter. I was like, and it just pulled me right in. It's an amazing chapter. Good job.
Thank you so much. There's no pressure in that at all.
No.
But I really, what I love most about it, we were just talking with Frank and Marcy, and what I love about having the opportunity to do that chapter is all the things I talk about doing. We then have chapters that dig into detail on how to execute some of those things and really teach some of the skills that are needed to execute a great marketing strategy. So it was such a joy to see how all of it came together. And we didn't all know what other people, we knew the topics they were writing, but we hadn't seen the work. So you're always a little nervous, like, is this going to play into what other people are doing? And when it all came together, I was just amazed at how seamless it was. And I think readers are going to gain a tremendous amount from this book.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we had a format by which we wrote all the chapters, and that helped to keep the chapters together, or what I'm trying to say, coherent, I guess is the word I'm looking for. That helped to keep the chapters coherent. And yours is yours is the start. So we have to put that out there. So tell me, when you found out yours was going to be the first chapter of the book, did you I would have gone under my bed in fear.
A part of me was, so let me just say, the first reaction was like, oh yes. I was so excited and so honored to be chosen that chapter was first, and that topic. And then I went to sit down and start working. I thought, oh no, I need to summarize marketing strategy in 1,500 words and 10 tips. How am I going to do that? And it felt like this overwhelming task, but it actually turned out to be a much more seamless process than expected. What I did first was just allow myself to write everything down. So I had everything I could think of, and I had more than 30 things written down in various places in various amount of depth. And then I took a step back and started thinking about, what are the patterns? What are the things that everybody struggles with? And what are the things that people struggle with that have the most difference in their business to make the biggest impact? And then it actually became a much easier process to whittle down. And I feel pretty good about the things that are in there. It felt meaty and it felt substantial, but also really easy to follow. One of the things about this book that I think was so important to all of us is we wanted a small business owner who has no marketing background to be able to pick up this book and read it and be able to do the things that we talk about. And we wanted an experienced marketer to be able to pick up this book and get a new idea and be able to...
In every chapter, a new idea in every chapter.
Exactly. So it was just as it came together, it felt less overwhelming. And but I had both of that, yes, excitement and oh no, fear, all creeping in at the same time.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Seriously, I mean, it makes me getting on this live stream for 3 hours does not make me sweat, but I'm that makes me sweat.
Oh, that I couldn't handle. I've got my water and my notes and I'm all ready to go and I speak all the time, but to actually run the back end, I think it's such a skill and I'm so grateful other people do it.
Well, we're happy to do it. Ian gave us all great training, just so you know.
Yeah, excellent.
So anyway, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, like, if I'm going to start my new marketing strategy, I have a new business or I have a new idea, and I'm like, gosh, how am I going to ever get people to pay attention to this? I know I need. People will say to me a lot, I need to get more viewership or more reach or whatever. I mean, what do you tell people when they come to you with that kind of a problem and they just don't really know where to start?
It's a really common challenge, and we all struggle. Even experienced businesses struggle with it, because a lot of times we have early success and we go, 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 and then we'd hit a plateau. And a lot of the work I do is where businesses have hit a plateau and they can't quite keep moving from there. And so whether you're introducing a brand new product to market or you've hit a plateau, the very first thing we need to start with is actually not marketing. And this always throws people off. But
Okay.
they want to jump into, like, should I be on Instagram, and should I, be, how many salespeople should I hire? And I'm like, time out. Let's take a step back. What are we trying to do as a business? Who are we trying to serve? Who are we great at serving? Where will we make money, right? Because
Money. Oh,
right?
Money. Do we need to make
Most
money?
of our businesses are about making money. Now, if I'm a nonprofit, money might be not the way I think about it. I think about it as donations. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to grow in some substantial way. So the thing with marketing is we first start with the business. What are we trying to accomplish? And what do we want to be our long-term goals? And then the very next thing we do is hone in our audience. Because one of the common things, Cami, that people constantly think of is what you just said, is I need to expand reach. But it's actually, in most cases, not what we need to be doing. We actually need to focus on the audience that we can best serve. And I'll give you an example. One of my very first consulting clients 12 years ago, I had been in-house for many years, and I started this practice, and they brought me in. And because it was my first consulting client, I agreed to sign an agreement that I would never do today that said that I will increase your number of leads by whatever the percentage.
Oh, you did not. You didn't do that.
Say exactly that, but it was very clear that's what they wanted. So I went in and I did what I always do, a lot of what Frank and Marcy were talking about, is I, really looked at what was already coming in and what we needed to do and all of that. And then I sat down with my recommendations a few weeks later with a couple weeks later with the chief revenue officer and the president of the company who had hired me. And I said, I have amazing news for you. And they were like, what? And I go, we're going to cut your leads in half. And they went, do you remember the conversations that we had?
Was that the contract we had there, girl?
But in deference to them and in fairness to them, they listened with an open mind, some skepticism, but an open mind. But I explained to them, you don't have a lead volume problem, you have a lead focus problem. So much of what you're putting into this pipeline is useless and you're wasting resources. And I broke down where that was. And we agreed on a better ideal customer profile that we could really serve. And that, combined with some other things that we did, now knowing that that was our audience and more deeply understanding the audience, we grew in 6 months revenue 20%, and we cut almost 2 months of the average sales cycle length out. Those are really meaningful. And by the way, we spent not a penny more in marketing than we were doing before. And we did, in fact, cut leads in half. But it was the right thing to do for the business. So when we talk about strategy, that's what we're talking about. How do we focus and how do we use our resources most wisely?
So it's like do more by doing less. I love that. Yes. I love that.
Now,
do
and just
more
to be
by
clear,
doing less.
There are
Not
times
always.
when you have to grow, right? And you have,
Sure.
because especially if I'm introducing a new product to market, or I'm opening a new store, or I'm doing something where no one knows me, that's about growth. But it's still growth in a structured way and in a focused way to get to the right audience who you're going to best be able to maximize those interactions.
Oh, that is so powerful. Thank you so much. That's such a great example. So what do you think is the biggest mistake that business owners make when they're stepping up to this plate?
We overcomplicate strategy. Honestly, I think two important things. One, we overcomplicate it. We feel like it's getting an MBA from business school, and I've got to build my 5-year plan, and I got to have all these complexities. So that's the most common challenge. And because most businesses, and in fact, particularly small businesses, but all businesses, never have the resources and time to do the big complex stuff, it gets pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. The other mistake we make is we confuse chasing a shiny new object with a strategy. So people will say,
Ooh,
what's our LinkedIn strategy?
preach.
Right? Right? You just want to know
Yes,
what's
preach.
our AI? I can't tell you the number of meetings I've walked into in the last 6 months where the conversation starts, what's our AI strategy? No, no,
Oh,
no.
geez.
What's our business strategy? What's our
Yeah.
audience? And then what tools do we need? And sure, there'll likely be an AI component to that, but that comes after. It's not where we start. Every decision we make should be serving the overall business goal and objectives. Then we can make the tactical decisions about what tools we use, what talent we need on the team, how we're going to go to market in the most effective way.
Yeah, and I think that's usually when people are asking for a strategy, they're asking for a tactical plan. I have found that to be true.
100% all the time, all the
Yeah.
time.
So
And
usually, I mean, I usually deliver a tactical plan with the strategy because people
yes.
they don't understand the strategy
That is,
otherwise.
it's interesting that you say that because one of the things I tried to do when I was balancing this chapter was
Yeah.
to build the strategy that gave direction to the tactical plan. So a section in there talks about the right channel mix and what things do you think about your audience to help direct you toward that. We talk about pricing. So we have to mix go-to-market strategy with a tactical plan, or it A, never happens. People don't execute against it.
Right.
And B, we lose some of that insight, and sometimes people don't understand what it is. The good news is most of the clients I'm looking for do want to start with strategy because I think just the nature of my work and why I'm engaged in those situations. A lot of times I'm there to help bridge a gap between sales and marketing, where sales and marketing have some friction between them and aren't always on the same page. But we got to find that before we can talk about the specific activities and the campaign calendar and all of that, we need to put it in the context of the broader business and what we're trying to accomplish.
No, I think that's really important. Like, what is it you're actually measuring against? Like, for example, for this book, our big thing, we it's shifted. Like at first, our big goal, get as many people on the email list as possible so that we can tell you whenever the book's available. It makes sense, right? And now we're going to probably shift into how many people are buying the book and where that's going. So you have to also shift your measures too, right?
100%. And that's really critical and important to figuring out what we need to pay attention to and focus on is those things. I was just looking, Katie wrote a really funny comment there, but I like chasing
Yeah.
shiny new objects, right? And
Oh, yeah. Let me go look at that.
yeah, and
I'll
it's
pull it up.
true. We do like to do that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with chasing things and learning. Like I'm constantly learning things and I'm constantly doing my own research. I attended an MIT class that was on AI strategy for business. It was like a 6 or 8 week leadership course, and I took that. And it doesn't affect my work at all, but I wanted to understand it better. And there's so many things that are out there. The problem is when the board and our leadership team are focused on those things and they get in the way of applying them to the right strategy objectives.
Yeah, I used to say something like always measure over the head of your client or over the head of your boss, in the sense of always have like their thing that they want to measure, which doesn't make any difference, like how many people liked this thing or whatever. But then
Measurement is one of the most important things that I talk about in this chapter, because in my experience, the single most important thing you can change, if you want to have different outcomes, the single most important thing to change is what you measure. That example I gave you at the beginning of the company who was measuring leads became not a measurement for us. We looked at conversion of rate from lead to meeting or demonstration. We looked at pipeline growth. So yes, in the back end, marketing was measuring leads so we could track and forecast, but we weren't held accountable to that anymore, because what it was causing when we were accountable to a lead volume is the marketing team was working really hard and they were buying lists and they were putting things in there, but that stuff wasn't always converting. So it was the wrong measure for that problem that they were trying to solve in that moment. There are times like you described where building the email list is the goal at a stage in our business. And so, that is a volume game, but we have to figure out what we're trying to accomplish first.
No, that is so, so powerful. By the way, go grab the book. Go grab the book. Here's the QR code. You can scan it. Ian made these for us. And by the way, when you scan it, it tells me somebody just scanned the QR code. So please scan it because it's really exciting on my side of things. So definitely scan this. And we have the book. It's up right now on Kindle for $2.99 just for the next week only. And then it goes up to the regular price because we're looking for people to review the book, to look at the book, to give us feedback. Because, yeah, I think you're going to really love the book. I really do. And so I would love it if you would scan this, go buy the book for us. And if you have a minute, like leave a little review. That would be super awesome. That is also one of our measures right now. We have to get reviews because Amazon won't show it to anybody unless you review it. And it needs to be real people who bought the book. So
Yes,
we're not reviewing the book
absolutely.
ourselves, guys. Okay? Huh?
I have to tell you, I love looking. So I published a book a few years ago, and it
Yeah.
still sells regularly. And whenever new reviews come in, I don't see it all the time, like an automatic feed, but I check it. And it's so rewarding to see what people are saying and what they find. So I hope lots of people will take advantage of the $2.99 Kindle offer. You can't beat that.
Yeah, you can't really beat that with, yeah, I was like, wow, this is really good. So yeah, definitely grab the book. But, so what would you hope that your chapter would inspire for people that are reading it? Tell me what your greatest hope for this book is, especially around your chapter, but also kind of in what it is for you.
I really hope that people will read this chapter and all the chapters in the book and take a moment to take a pause and think about what they've been doing. Even no matter how successful we are, there's opportunities for us to become more efficient. There's opportunities for us to become more focused. There's opportunities for us to get more reward for our work. I was working with a services company very recently, and they have a very successful business, and they make money, and they have returning clients, but they're not finding fulfillment in the work that they're doing anymore. And they have a couple clients who have a different service than most, and they really want to transition their business to that new line. Well, that's awesome. We're going to work on how do we position that? How do we transition that? How do we grow that? Because work isn't just about money. It is about fulfillment as well. So I hope that this chapter gives people the tools to have durable business that are sustainable over time, that they enjoy running and they enjoy interacting with their customers. And when we do strategy right, it gives us the opportunity to do that. And when we don't, we have to chase just closing deals. It becomes transactional, and sometimes it becomes
painful.
Right.
And unfun. Like that is the most unfun thing ever, is like the idea of like, oh, I have to close a couple of deals this month or we're going to be like short on payroll or something crazy like that. And it's no fun.
And look, all of us have stages in our business where these things are going to happen. Those are realities and we need to plan for them. I run my own small business. I totally understand that. I feel that. But we have an opportunity to, in most of the time, build a business that feels durable and long lasting and feels fulfilling to us and can grow to, some businesses want to grow very, very big. They want lots of locations. They want lots of things. Some businesses want a couple of locations to plan to retire on the beach, right?
Yeah.
All of that is
what's the goal,
good.
right? What's the goal of your business?
Right?
Yeah.
What do you want your business to be? And that may change over time, and it may change over time because our needs change, but it may change over time because our customers' needs absolutely change, right? That is something that happens quite a lot, is that our customers tell us things about what's important to them that we didn't know before.
So I don't know who Anne Hadley is, but I thought maybe you might know. But somebody says you're the new Anne Hadley, so there you go.
Oh, well, that is like the biggest compliment on the planet. Oh, you need to go.
And somebody else agreed. I got people agreeing. This is like, I feel like I'm like culturally insane.
Oh,
So tell me.
Like, honestly, I might be blushing. Like that is like the best comment. I don't have as good a suits as she does, but I love that.
Are you talking about Hanley or Hadley? Oh, okay. I'm
assuming it's Hanley. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Hanley. I think she means Hanley.
Yeah.
I know who that is. And yes, when you said the suits, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And I will have to tell her. So yeah, she's one of my Be Real friends. Do you guys use the Be Real app? It's pretty cool.
I have gotten on Be Real because I wanted to experience, but I have realized something about myself. I'm not ready to be real. I find that when the thing pops up randomly, I'm not very vain. Like I do TikToks without makeup and stuff. It's more like it catches me in moments that I'm not doing anything that it's worth sharing. So I've tested it and decided that I'm not the right audience.
Oh, well, it's cool whenever you don't have a very big group. So
Yeah.
I have a very small, like, you could be real with me because there's only like, I only have like 5 friends on Be Real. I mean, they're all like sort of big deal friends, but I only have
Yeah.
5. But they're real
Awesome.
friends. They're people I really actually know and like. And so if it's somebody like that, it's easier, right?
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
the way, for this live stream, I was being real because I did a little live stream for how you guys could get on here, and I forgot that I had turned on the camera, and I had my hair was wet, and I had my towel around my. I'm like, here I am
Hey,
being real.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think that's super,
Oh,
super
look who's
fun.
here. How are you doing? Okay, sorry, just saying hello. Hello, how are you
Yay, hi,
doing?
everyone.
Hi, Jim. Yeah, Fuse Marketing. By the way, he has an amazing Amazon station, so follow him. Anyway, so awesome. Um, we are coming up to the end of the hour. Do you guys have any questions for Samantha? I'm just going to be looking in the chat right now to see if you have any questions for her about strategy. And I know a lot of people do. They're like, what is a strategy? Where do I go with a strategy? Like, what does a strategy entail? It seems really like a black box to me, Samantha, a little bit with strategy. So if you could, like, oh, here's one. If you could describe strategy in just one sentence, like why it's important for the brand, tell me why.
A good marketing strategy becomes a foundation for all of the decisions we make. It tells us where to make our investments, what audience to focus on, and what to measure. It's just that baseline what it is. And like I said at the beginning, Kimmy, so many people make it overly complex. It becomes an academic exercise. We lose sight of what we're really trying to accomplish. And great marketing strategy isn't hard. You just have to be thoughtful about it, and you have to really understand, what am I trying to do and what does my audience care about.
Yeah, I only heard you just say 3 things, so that's not hard. I could put those on the back of a cocktail napkin during a
Every
drink with
great
you,
idea should be
like
written
at
on the
Mark's
back of a
house
cocktail
or
napkin.
whatever soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. I'm seeing if we have any other questions here. And if not, then I'm going to ask you kind of my penultimate question, which is if you could leave people here that are listening with one thing today that, and here, I love this. Yeah, Frank says, I love this. Don't let your strategy become an academic exercise. So, so good. Because I think we overthink everything. I know I overthink everything.
We do,
So
and
I
the
don't know about
moment we
y'all.
use the word strategy, it like instantly makes us overthink things.
Yeah. So, like, I'm just going to ask you one thing. Like, if you could say to the people who are listening here, what's the first thing that they should do to start, besides, of course, reading our book? But besides that, what would be the first thing you would tell them to do? Because I don't want you to give away all your tips, but maybe one, like, just give me one that's maybe an aha moment.
The very first thing they need to do is talk to their customers and their target audience. And they need to understand what those people think of them, whether they do it yourself or you use somebody else to do it. If you haven't talked to a customer outside of a sales situation, so not in the context of trying to sell them something, but really taking a step back and understood and observed how they work, how they view your product or service, what they value. Because here's the thing, we sometimes spend an enormous amount of energy building a particular capability or bringing in a particular feature or setting up distribution for something. And it may not be the thing that customers value the most. So we spent the most effort on it. So we put that front and center and talk about it most. But if it doesn't align to what customers value most, and maybe they value this thing that was actually relatively easy for us. But our goal as great marketers and marketing strategies, we cannot convince people they need our product or service. Usually, there's exceptions, but generally speaking, we can't make them need us. What we
No.
can do is understand their needs and tell them and map their needs to what we do and help set those priorities with them. And so the very first thing we should do is to understand that really deeply. Take a step back, even if you did it a while ago, refresh it, get some new perspective, do it objectively. And if you can't be objective, have someone else on the team do it or hire somebody to do it. And be ready to listen and not talk very much during those discussions.
Ooh, you just hit the nail on the head, the listening. And I think I'm sensing a theme in our live streams because Frank and Marcy were first and they talked about research and they talked about talking to your customer. So right now my theme is feeling like talk to your customer and listen to what they have to say. outside of a sales conversation. I really like that. Yeah, it seems like the theme for today for us.
It's the most important thing that we can do. And as you can tell, I like to talk. And so for me, I had to spend a long time practicing asking better questions and allowing silence to sit, because in those moments that may feel awkward to us, where we feel we have to fill space, it's actually when we get the most interesting feedback from our communities and our audience, that they fill the space, and they fill it with something that's insightful usually. So it's wonder. That's the number one thing. And then, you've got to pair that with what you're trying to do as your business objectives, alongside that. And then with that input, what does that shift for, and how well does that serve? Is the audience I'm serving today the right one for my long-term goals? Do I need to expand it? Do I need to shrink it? Do I need to change it? Those are all things that you have to start with before you do any other strategy work.
I'm just giving you that silence. I'm sorry. Anything else comes in?
Waiting for the big insight, Cammie.
Sorry. I did that on purpose.
I love that. That was awesome.
All right. Yeah, dead air is the best way to get people to say something, says Jim. I your 100%, Jim. Yeah, it is. And so thank you so much for being here, talking about your book chapter, all of our book, and helping us with that, and giving us an insight to what the beginning of the book is like. So if you buy the book, all you have to do is just open it and you'll see Samantha's chapter. I'm so excited about that. And so our next guest that's coming up, which I'll talk about in a minute, you can stay with me if you want for a minute, is Giuseppe Frattoni, and he's going to be talking about powerful messages to grab your client's attention. So messaging, right? So we've talked about like listening and talking to your client, and now we need to talk about, what do you say to them? Like, how do you bring them in? So this is a great section. So you see that every single author has so much to offer in this process. And if you want an instant replay of all the stuff, because I doubt any of us are going to stay awake for 24 hours. It's a little bit less than 24 hours, I'll be honest. We fudged on that just a tiny bit. Because some people are like, I'm not staying up to 3:00 in the morning. Anyway, you can actually scan this particular QR code, which is different than the book, and it will take you to our landing page, which many of you already probably have. And if you put in your email address there, we will send you an instant replay hub with all of the guests from today, and it is searchable by keyword, and so you can go through it at your heart's delight and use it as a resource for yourself and for your business. But yeah, I need you to send me your email so I can send it to you, because it takes me a couple of days to kind of put it together. So go ahead and grab that and put it in there. And yeah, thank you, Samantha, so much for being here today. And yeah, we're going to move on, but thank you. And I am going to grab the graphic. We'll just have a little slide here, and then I'll move on to Giuseppe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now I'm fading in. Giuseppe, how are you doing?
You're
great. Here.
Thank you.
Yes, you're here. It's late for you, or getting there, huh? A little bit.
No, close to dinner time, I'll say.
Dinner, okay. Hopefully we won't keep you from your dinner. Awesome. So I'm really excited about your chapter, because I think it's the thing that most people are struggling with often, and that is messaging, right? Like, what am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to say it? So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that. But first, can you tell me a little bit about why you got involved with this book project and kind of what it's meant to you?
Yeah, of course. Well, of course, I would say probably two main reasons. One is that has Mark Schaefer's name on it, and I've known Mark Schaefer for many years. I mean, we've connected when he published his first book, The Tao of Twitter, and we've been in touch. I mean, he's been a guest on my podcast. I wrote a blog post for him. And so when he created the Rise community, and this project was in the brainstorming phase, I said, okay, I got to get in. And so I sort of volunteered to write. And the second reason is that, I played for the with the idea of writing a book for a long time, but it sounded like too big of an effort. I mean,
Yeah.
writing 250
Doesn't
pages
it? Me
on
too.
my own, yeah. And so starting with one chapter, and actually my chapter, I co-wrote the chapter on messaging copywriting with
Yes.
Al Boyle, which will be on the live stream later today. So it was half of a chapter. So it was really a very fun experience. I mean, we had a uh, great time working together, and yeah, that's why I'm here. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, seeing all the path from the brainstorming phase, the creating the table of content and the chapters and the writing, the rewriting, the editing, and then I had this additional thing of having to discuss and
Collaborate.
and
Yeah.
collaborate with another author, and then creating the audio version and being involved in the marketing. I mean, it's been an amazing experience. I wouldn't have thought I would be doing this uh, last year. I mean, well, not even like
Right.
this all started in, I think, October. So it's been fast, intense, but really
It
fast.
has. And I didn't ask the other guests because I don't know why I didn't. I should have. But this is a truly international project. Like people are doing this from all over the world. So there's also time zones and issues around that. Um so yeah, tell us where you're calling in from here today.
Where I'm coming from? I'm from Italy. I'm in Rome.
Yeah, you're in Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're in Rome, I'm in Houston. There's just people, Marcy and Frank are in the UK, although they're in the US right this moment, but we're just all over the world, which I think is really sort of a powerful thing because usually it's very centric to like one place or another. So we've had to overcome a lot of challenges. I was just thinking about you and Al in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I mean, he's sort of in the East Coast of the United States, so that we have, I think, 6 hours of time difference, and we
Not bad.
we 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 found a time that was good for both of us, and so that wasn't a problem really, and it's been an amazing collaboration with Al, and yeah, so it's incredible what this technology allows us to do, to connect, to have Zoom sessions for the brainstorming, and then sharing documents, and then being in this live stream. I mean, thousands of miles away from each other, and in real time. It's incredible. Yeah, really. I
Yeah,
feel
I totally
blessed
agree with that.
to be
Yeah.
here. Really.
So let's jump into your chapter. I have a couple of questions around it because I'm really excited about what you've put together here. So this idea about messaging, I think it can feel sometimes very impersonal and sort of distant. And so, can you give me a little bit of an idea of how you come at messaging? Like, what's your philosophy on messaging?
Well, my philosophy on messaging in marketing is that it's where the rubber meets the road. Really, I mean, you do your research, you study, you collect data, but then it comes the time to put a message together. And to me, is the most fun activity in marketing, because it's when you get to communicate with other people. I mean, you are talking with people that need your services or your products, and if you do that the right way, it's just an amazing experience. And so, I mean, and for me, this the reason why I was attracted to this particular activity in marketing is because I have a completely different background. I've been a lawyer
Oh,
and an attorney for more than 20 years. So this
right.
idea of speaking and writing to convince other people, like the jury in a trial,
I was
what,
going to
what,
say you've done this. Like,
what
this is very
was very
important.
natural for me. And so
Yeah.
now, of course, marketing is different. It's not is usually more fun than than addressing the court
I get you.
during a trial. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I think I've done for all my working career. When I started doing
Hmm.
dealing with marketing, doing the first projects almost I think 15 years ago, maybe, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah,
And
I understand. I'm kind of with you on that. It's
yeah,
been a while longer than that, but yeah. So messaging, like, so what's your process then? Like, so I mean, I love that you come from that attorney background because it's very deliberative, right? So in that particular way, you're trying to like shepherd a group of people toward a certain outcome in their mind through evidence, like with evidence that you present. So how do you bring those two things together? I'm interested.
well, it all starts with your customers. You have to know them very, very well. I mean, this is the number one thing that you want to do. You have to really, the first uh, program that I took, first training that I took on copywriting. I heard this thing that I think is very descriptive. I mean, you should have a clear enough idea of who your ideal client is that you should be able to picture them in front of you when you're creating your copy. You should give them a name, like talking
Mm.
to a
Hmm.
friend, to really connect with them. And it all starts with the research, and you have to collect as many different data as you can. Of course, demographics, so locations, age, gender, and that's only the beginning, because then you have to also study their worldviews, the things that they are involved in, the causes they support, the lifestyle that they love, and when you put all these elements together, you get a clear idea of your ideal client, and
Hmm.
then you start to talk. I mean, or to write. I mean, that depends, of course, on where your copy is going to be published, and yeah, that's essentially the process. So the research first, and then you create the message
Hmm.
that speaks to their needs, because you know them very well, and trying to use their same words when they describe their
Yes, the same
problems.
language. I appreciate you said that. Thank you. Hmm.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, you have to speak the same language, and copywriting. There's probably a slight, well, not a difference, but a different angle, because the message is essentially what you say in your copy. I mean, what you communicate about the things that you do, your product, your service, how you help people. The copywriting is the technique of crafting a message that's memorable, that can bring them to take some sort of action, essentially. So connect with you,
Yeah.
subscribe to your newsletter, buy something, whatever.
Yeah, I love that you're saying you're driving into an action. Could you give me an example of something that you did like that? Just so that people can get an idea of like just in the real world setting how that would work.
Oh, I mean, this I think happens in every kind of marketing message that I have created for my clients,
Hmm.
and not only on sales pages or things like that. It can be as little a call to action as asking them to comment on your blog post, to
Ooh,
try
yeah, that's a
to
good
to
point.
start a conversation, or maybe share your Facebook update. It's just a way to, because people sometimes like what they see and what they read, but if you don't tell them, they don't know what to do next. I mean, you have to guide them through the process. So, and maybe just a little, hey, if you liked this post, why don't you share it? Why don't you comment? Why don't you whatever? I mean, it's
Yeah,
not.
why don't you guys do that? Like, if you're liking this live stream, why don't you share it wherever you are?
Yeah.
We would love it if you would share our live stream today out to your audience so that we could get more people to hear this amazing stuff. Thank you, Giuseppe. You helped me. Good reminder. Yeah. So I think that's amazing. So do you have like a case study where you like a situation where one client, this really made a huge difference for them in their business that you can think of?
Um,
Putting you on the spot. Sorry.
no, I don't think I have. I mean, one example that mm, that's more relevant. I mean, this is something that I've
Just baked into everything you've done, right?
yeah, it's just do all the time, and then I teach my clients to do all the time. And yeah, maybe one example was particularly interesting. I was working with another. The client was another lawyer who left a big law firm and started his own practice. And he was very skilled, very experienced, but didn't have any experience about marketing. Didn't want to market
Right.
himself. And so yeah, we just created basically a blog where he talked about legal issues around his particular area of the law, and to build an email list, just asking readers to comment on those blog posts. It's just it can be really as easy
Yeah,
as
it's
that.
so simple, right?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's so simple. Yeah. And in fact, I had asked people to do that here. And so I do have a question for you. So that's good, right? So one of the things that it's coming up, and I think this is important, and you're ideal to answer this because you are multilingual, you're marketing in both English and other, and I mean, you can tell me what you're doing, but any thoughts on differences in messaging that brands should have for audience in different cultures and countries?
Well, yes, I have work with an international clientele, and but I have to say mostly with English-speaking countries.
Okay.
And yeah, cultural differences are, of course, are important. And we go back to understanding who your ideal client is, and figuring out their their desires, their needs, their aspirations, their problems. What's the biggest problem that they have that's keeping them up at night, and using their words when you create your message. Just I think this is really a key point in creating
Yeah,
a
the using
powerful
your words
marketing
things. I
message.
think a lot of people miss that, right? I feel like that for whatever reason, it's such a great point that you're making about that. And yeah, here we've got another one said, in keeping in mind any cultural difference and tweak the messaging appropriately, right? Another thing, I can give you an example right now that's kind of current and kind of gives you an idea. So the QR code that we have today is for the Kindle book, right? And Ian created this. I don't know what tool he used exactly because he was using his personal brand, but his branded link. But this QR code will get you to the Kindle book in your country's Amazon site. So it's like it's a universal thing. I think the only place it wasn't working that we tested it was Australia, and that was a little bit interesting. So something like that, right? Just a small thing. Like we're broadcasting to an international audience. So how can we create something that includes them in a way? And we also put up a ad event calendar that Frank put together that automatically changes the time zone for each session into your time zone. So those kinds of small little tweaks that make people feel like they're being seen and heard. I mean, otherwise it's just like American centric. Everything's in Eastern time because isn't the entire world in Eastern time? I don't know. That's the only thing. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. And I when we were booking our slots for this event, I made a mistake because on the registration page, all times were Eastern time,
Yep.
and it was kind of strange to me because those tools these days
They usually do
automatically
that. They were supposed to. I
convert.
don't know why I didn't.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, and that was a bit awkward. So I had to say,
Glitch.
okay, sorry, I, I have to change my slot, please, because I booked for midnight initially,
Right.
so it wasn't very comfortable.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So and I think that's the thing too, is also understanding that you have to make, adjustments for these things, right? So as you go along, and messaging is really important in that too, because communicating to people what's going on and hearing what they have to say. And often I think business owners, they get a lot of complaints and they like to just close their ears a little bit to the complaints, but those are just like, signposts of what you need to do differently, right? So,
Yes, of course. I mean, and every kind of feedback, of real feedback that you have from a real person is gold for marketing. Because
oh, yeah.
when you create your ideal client profile and that kind of stuff, the buyer's persona, and you are sort of in a laboratory. Then you put something out there and you start getting feedback. Hopefully, you start getting feedback from real people, and then you adjust, which is what you should be doing in everything that you do in marketing and in your business as a whole. I mean, you make a
Yeah.
plan, you execute, you measure, you see what you're getting, and then you adjust.
No,
So
I
any
agree,
kind
and,
of
and I think a
feedback
lot of times people
is
make a
important.
message and they think they have to just stick with that message, right? So
Yeah,
you don't think they should, yeah. By the way, it's
no.
Thirsty Affiliates. Ian's listening, so that's the name of the tool that made the link that let us share it all over the place. Thank you, Ian, for being right there on the spot. Um, Also, we have a thanks. Yeah, I'll let you drink. Jim says, thanks for the reminder to share this out. Just tweeted it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank
tweeting
you.
it. We really appreciate that, Jim, so much. Also, Zach said he did it. He has checked it off of his list. He shared it out. So thank you for those of you who've shared it out today. We really, really appreciate it. Yeah, cool. So tell me, like, if you had one thing you would like people to get out of your chapter, at yours and Al's chapter, what would it be, Giuseppe?
Um, yeah, I think um, approach your marketing, yeah, with curiosity, with
Yeah.
an experimentation mindset, and don't fall in love with your ideas, and see what happens. Look, we go back to the that concept. See what's happening when you're putting your message out there, and the
Mm-hmm.
feedback that you're getting, and then you can adjust. Sometimes people just do a lot of research, and they get too fixated with something, and they don't want to change because they say, okay, I've spent so many time on this, and this has to work because I've done my research. But again,
Yeah.
the research has to be measured, has to be put in action, and then you have to measure the results that you're getting, and you have to be ready to adjust, to correct, to tweak what, and then if something you realize that something is not working, you stop doing it and you start doing
Mm-hmm.
something else. But when you take action, you put something out there, you publish, you ship something, is where you get real feedback, and you on that feedback you can base everything that you do later.
I love how you say don't fall in love with your own ideas, because to me, that's hard, because if you're an entrepreneur, especially, or a small business owner, it's like you have something in mind specifically, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
true. And
do you find people won't let go?
yeah, and one of the again, one of the first training that I took when I started this, when I shifted to this new career, this the teacher had this sort of mantra, and he always said, everything is a test, everything is a test, everything is a test. Don't forget this. I mean, if it goes well, okay, you keep doing it. Otherwise, you have to change something, because Yeah, you cannot expect to have a different result if you keep doing the same experiment. And,
Same thing.
yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, it's just funny you say that because that used to be like a quote that I lived by, like when I was a little bit younger. But you can't expect different results from doing the same thing
Yeah,
over and over again.
I think it's attributed
Mhm,
to Albert Einstein. I don't know
mhm.
if it's true, but
True or not?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I love, love, love that. Let me see if we have any questions. If you guys have questions, definitely throw them in the chat. We have a few more minutes here, and I would love to get some questions in. Um, I love Samantha. She just kind of put what we put. Yeah, she just wrote it up for us. Thank you, Samantha. Brilliant. This is one of the hardest lessons we have to learn. Don't fall in love with your own words. So important. It's kind of like what we learned too about co-creating things with your audience. Often, somebody will go to a basement and like create something and for years and years and years and toil and then throw it out there. Here's the thing, love it. And people are like, who are you? I haven't seen you in 3 years. Right?
Yeah,
So
true.
cool. And curiosity too is so important. I think, for the earlier stream with Ian, when Ian was host, that was their theme was curiosity. That was really good.
Yeah, and
And I
if I
actually, we were
can
talking to somebody about the community about that, huh?
add one more
Go ahead.
thing, try to have
Sure.
fun. Try to have fun with what you do, because otherwise, I mean, being in business is hard. It takes a lot of time and effort, and if it's not fun, at least some of it, it gets very very hard. I mean, so this should be a top priority for every entrepreneur, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it can be so hard and overwhelming sometimes because you feel like I have to make this marketing work. Like it has to work. Like somebody has to pay attention. And I get that question a lot. Like, how do I get people to pay attention to me? What would you answer to that question?
Well, I mean, if you have a solution to a group of people's problem, you have a business. So what you have to do is communicate with them in the right way. That's I think the main thing. I mean, people, are the only thing they care about is to solve their problems. And
Yeah.
when you can communicate effectively with them, you're doing a great service. Because I mean, who wouldn't know about a great product or service that can solve one problem that's keeping them up at night? So it's and the idea that this has to work. Yeah, this has to work, and this will work if you do it the right way. I mean, you have to communicate with them you have to be on the same wavelength. I see a lot
Yeah.
of times people, especially in websites and their about pages, they talk about themselves. They talk about the business. They talk about their certifications, their degrees, how good they are, and all that. They should talk about their audience's problems, and that changes everything.
I think that's really powerful what you just said, because it's something that most people will say, I don't like to talk. I just ran a LinkedIn profile workshop the other day for the Social Media Breakfast of Houston. And people were there. We did it in person. And people say, I don't like to talk about myself. And it's so funny because you really aren't supposed to be talking about yourself, right? I mean, you use yourself as an example,
Yeah.
right, of what people can accomplish, what others can accomplish. What do you
Yes.
think about
Yeah,
that?
it's true. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about yourself in the context of how you help those you serve, essentially. So not open your
Yeah,
everything
it's
with
kind of Bob has a good way of saying it here. How does it make people feel when they see or hear your social media post or or whatever you put out there, right? How does it make them feel? It's really interesting. So do you do that like in your messaging? Are you looking for trying to make people feel a certain thing, or like are you trying to emote something out of people?
well, it depends on the message and on the on the purpose of the campaign, of that copy that I'm working on, of course. And I think that if you find a way to leverage emotions, yeah, that's gold from a marketing standpoint. I
Not every
mean,
company is great at
yeah,
emotions.
yeah,
I'll be honest.
emotions are, what I think the thing that drives our behavior a lot more
Right.
than thinking, than our logical thinking. And then usually, I mean,
Well,
I think that
yeah.
I think
I
that
think people think they can do decisions that way. Huh?
I think, and I think, well, it's not just me. I mean, I read research that everything that we do is triggered by some kind of emotion, and then we make up a logical story to justify the decision that we've already made based on our emotions. So yeah, emotions are incredibly powerful, of course, and
Yeah.
yeah, leveraging them in an ethical way, of course, because again, we're not trying to get people to do something that they don't want to do, and I don't even think that's possible. I'm a firm believer in that principle that marketing is entering the conversation the prospect is already having in their head. I mean, it's so you have to follow that entry point, if you will.
Yeah. So we are now down to 5 minutes before your time is up. And so I wanted to ask you what I'm asking everybody at the end. If there was one thing you wanted to leave people with in this session about messaging in your brand, what would it be? What would be the one thing that you'd want to make sure you got across?
Um, yeah, I think that every small business owner, every entrepreneur should think of themselves as a marketer who has a business. Because if you can't do good marketing, if you can't communicate effectively with your audience, uh, I mean, your business is going to suffer. And so I usually say to my clients, I mean, that we as business owners, entrepreneurs, are marketers who have a business, who run a business. And you have to love marketing, and a lot of people don't. They think that marketing is sleazy, is pushy, is annoying, and it can be if done the wrong way. But if done the right way, is a great service to your audience.
Oh, I love that. That marketing is a service to your clients. And maybe that just shift in the way of thinking of marketing from being something that you're trying to get people to do to something that you're to a way to help people to solve their problems with your knowledge and with what you have to offer. I think that's a really great mind shift.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's a great place to end. I love this so much. Stay with
Thank
me
you.
for a second while we talk about the book a little bit, but definitely go and grab the Instant Replay Hub here. You'll see on my right, your left, probably, the QR code that we talked about earlier that Ian made that will, take you places. And so the Ian made the Instant Replay Hub. I made that. But then you go to the Instant Replay Hub, and on there you can get access to the Replay Hub. You can see what the current video is happening. You can watch that right there if you want to, and click through to YouTube through there. And you can also grab the book off of that webpage as well. So you can get it from all the three things you need from the hub at this point. Really powerful place. And the hub, which will come out in probably a couple of days, maybe a week or so, is all the videos from today, and it's going to be in a searchable library. So you can go in and search by topic, and you'll be able to pull out the videos that are talking about that in these live streams, these 6 live streams that are going. And our next live stream, someone scan the QR code. Party. Thank you, guys. It tells me when you scan it. So definitely do that because it helps me get through this 3-hour thing, guys. Get me piped up, okay? Keep me piped up. I've been awake for hours, by the way. So there you go. So scan that, and then you can grab the hub. Also, thanks to Giuseppe for
Thanks,
being
Cami.
here and for sharing your knowledge and for your book chapter. I'm really excited. I've read it already, but I'm really excited for everybody else to read it. And yeah, really excited about that. And we have a special guest coming on next. So it's a mystery guest. You guys need to stay because it's really exciting and kind of unscheduled. So, okay.
Wow.
Now I hopefully I've held you up. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to put up
Thank you.
the page thing, and then give me about 2 seconds to get the other person on, and the mystery guest will appear. Well, hello, Batman.
You wanted mystery. You got mystery.
Batman is here, guys. How did that happen? Oh my gosh, I was not
Sorry.
expecting you,
Well,
Batman.
sorry. I was out fighting crime, and sometimes my personas get mixed up.
This is the one and only Mark Schaefer, author and publisher, and cat herder for the most amazing marketing book ever. Thank you for being our publisher.
And yeah,
Surprise visit.
the cat herding wasn't all that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was actually the experience was a joy. Yeah. So if you don't know me, I started the Rise community, and yeah, kind of like I was like maybe the quarterback of the project, and
Mhm.
you would be my wide receiver.
Catching all the
Yeah, you
balls
were
and
definitely
anything,
catching all the
any
balls.
like any anxiety in the middle of the night. What's going on?
Yeah, yeah. But it's it's been a joyful experience. It really has. The idea for this book is something that was in my mind for a long time. It actually started. I taught a personal branding masterclass, and someone in this class talked about her dream to write a book. And this is a person who is a stay-at-home mom, and she's raising children, and she's running a business, and she's got a lot of issues in her life, in her home. And I just thought to myself, I just don't know if she's going to have the time and the resources to write a book, but she could write a
Mm,
chapter, and maybe this is a way I could use my platform and my resources to elevate her and others so that she could be a published author. And I had it in the back of my mind. And even as I started the Rise community, I thought this is something maybe we'll do someday. And then, oh gosh, it was probably almost a year ago now. Our friend Daniel Nessel, said, "Hey, let's write a book." Well, we have so many people in this community that are subject matter experts, and they're so smart. I mean, we could write a book. I said, "Well, funny you should ask that, because I think we can." And so that began the journey, and it was very it was kind of nerve wracking in a way, because in some manner I'm putting my brand on the line, sponsoring this project, having
sure.
my name on the book, and it's like, okay, am I really at a place in my life where I want my brand to depend on 35 other people? But it worked.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I thought this is a good opportunity to make to elevate other people, to help them make their dreams come true. What a wonderful position
Mhm.
I'm in to have the audience, to have the platform, to be able to do that. And the most inspiring thing about this whole experience, Cami, is that
Mhm.
and you've seen this yourself, how people have stepped up. Whatever's going on, whatever's going wrong, someone
Mhm.
raises their hand and says, "I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to make that happen."
Yeah.
And quite the opposite of cat herding, I think the people, it was just incredible. Just there's no other word for it. How inspiring this was, that the people were so serious about this. They cared so much about this, and they put so much craftsmanship into their words, into the editing, the design, the narration. For many, it wasn't easy. Sometimes the writing wasn't easy. Sometimes uh, the narration wasn't easy.
Sometimes not any of it was easy. I don't know. It was just this thing.
How was it for you? How was it? So what was your emotional continuum?
Oh my gosh. This was so emotional for me. So, first of all, I felt like I should be able to do all this stuff. Like, it felt like sort of easy at first, like in my mind, like,
Right.
oh, this should be
Yeah.
easy. This shouldn't be a problem. And it was anything but. It was anything but
Yeah.
not a problem. It's like you have to overcome an emotional barrier inside of yourself too to get through it, right? Like, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Is it going to like have enough in it for somebody? So I'll talk about my chapter later, but the truth is that it was working with you, as I don't really have a mentor except for maybe you.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I have friends. I have lots of friends who've helped me
Yeah.
and mentored me like as
Yeah.
friends. But like people that like, see, I'm getting all teary. People that um, push you to be the best that you can be.
Yeah.
That say,
Yeah.
hey, not quite good enough. You do this.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
had to do that. I had to do that. And in
yeah,
a way,
and it was great.
it was mentoring, but also there was this element of protecting my friends and the community,
Yeah.
because I was determined. I don't want to see a review that says the book was
Mhm.
great except this one, right?
Yeah.
Not going to let
Mm-mm.
that happen. I'm not going to let
No.
that happen. And so for some people, we really had to push and push and push and push to get it to a point where, it was going to be something that, that we would be proud of, that the world would love, and it's a legacy. It's a legacy for them, and it's a legacy for us and our community. And I'll just tell you one
Mm-hmm.
little story that kind of reflects
Yeah.
the complexity and achievement of this book. I mean, I'm not sure there's ever been a book that's been done like this. And so we have this audio editor. The book is going to be out probably in about 2 weeks on
The Audible
the
book.
Audible.
The other part is out.
Yeah, paper's out, Kindle's out on sale, $2.99.
I can't believe it.
Crazy
Yeah.
for 350 ideas. I think that comes down
Yep.
to like 10 cents an idea or something, or maybe less.
Since you said it, I'll put up the QR code.
Put up the QR code. Yeah, yeah. She said earlier, it got to be piped up. Someone click the code.
Yeah, it's so helpful. Like, it makes me happy whenever you click the code.
The audio editor wrote me a note, and she said, Mark, when you told me what you were going to do, I just didn't know how this was going to work. I just thought this was the craziest idea. I've never worked on a project like this in my life. And the audio editing was very, very challenging, because we had 35 different microphones, 35 different noises in the background. But we were able to create this great audiobook. And when it was all over, she said, congratulations. She said, I don't think there's ever been an audiobook ever like this. This is an amazing achievement. So this book is singularly unique in so many ways, but it all depended on 36 people doing their jobs, making every deadline, fight. Excuse me. Just had lunch.
Do you need like water? Get a water.
I need water.
Sip some tea.
No,
We're here to chat. We're not here to
I was out fighting.
we're not
I
on the
was out
road.
fighting crime, and I was just, I got
You're out fighting
30
crime
minutes
and you
ago, I
just
was
dropped
getting
by.
strangled. So give me a break.
You had that. What is that car that Batman drives? That I don't know. I'm terrible at cars.
Batmobile.
But the black car.
The Batmobile.
The Batmobile. The Batmobile. The Batmobile.
in the
You just
garage.
drove in.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
Audible book, it'll be out in about 2 weeks, and it's like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. because when you listen to this, it's like startling because everybody narrates their own chapter. And so you hear, Ian from the UK, then you hear Fiona from Australia, you hear Yuri from Belgium, then you hear me, then they hear you. And so it's like you never know what you're going to hear next. And it makes it really fascinating. But we got it done. Yeah, we got it done.
Yeah, it is going to be something special. I agree, Zach, so much. All the authors reading their chapters in their own voice.
Yeah.
And, during the time we were doing this, I have a question here from somebody, and I've got to see if I can get back to it because I want to put it up on the screen. But you were really launching your own book. So you were launching Belonging to the Brand as we were writing this book, which I thought you were a little crazy for doing that.
I was.
Yeah. So I did. I was like, are we sure we want to do this right now? But the question is, and I think it's the right question. Speaking of which, Mark, could you say a few words about belonging to the brand and maybe how that relates to the writing of this book?
Yeah, certainly.
I think it does.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Well, the subtitle of Belonging to the Brand is Why Community is the Last Great Marketing Strategy. And great branding is creating an emotional expectation, an emotional bond in some way. So when you think of a person or you think of a company, some emotion comes to mind. If I say Coca-Cola, you might think of polar bears and happiness. If I say Nike, there's something else.
Just do it.
Yeah, right. If I say, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, there's something else that
get out of Texas. I'm sorry.
Comes out of
that's
mind.
Just me. That's only me.
So the ultimate bond, the ultimate connection is with community. Everybody has a social media strategy, but social media creates a relatively weak relational link. You post content, you don't really know if people see it, but it's a way to create reach. It's a way to connect with people like you and I started on social media, right? And over time, we became friends, collaborators. Now you said kind words to me, like I'm a mentor to you. But that started with this weak relational link. And then my guess is maybe you started reading my blog or you started listening to my podcast. Now we have a stronger relational link because you've bought into me. You've opted into my message. And even if I don't know you're out there, there's a stronger relational link to subscribers to a content. But the problem for most companies, that's where they stop. The ultimate connection comes in community because the connection is not only to you, it's a connection to each other. I think one of the things we've seen through the live stream today is just the sheer love and admiration. Now I'm getting emotional that people have.
We're gonna all cry.
Oh, let's just cry. Damn it. So
I'm sorry.
So we've got this admiration and this bond, and now we've got this shared experience where we struggled and we worked, and now I think it's been mentioned a few times on the live stream. I mean, we're in the top 10. The book's already in like the top 10.
Unbelievable.
In America, in the UK, in Australia, just after 2 days, and I didn't know that was going to happen, and it's really on the strength of the people in the community. So here we are, and we've worked and worked, and we've struggled, and look, there have been people with anxiety over this book, people with tears and fear over this book and their ability to write or narrate. And now here we are with a top 10 book. What a victory.
I
right?
can't believe it.
Wow.
I can't believe it. And top 1 in advertising. It's the number 1 hottest whatever.
Number one new book. And so now we've got this bond, like you and I, we're like working on something together. We're collaborating, and we've got we had Giuseppe and Zach and Yuri and Ian and all the people that have worked on a 24-hour live stream. How crazy is that? I mean, it's a great
It's crazy.
achievement, but you're going to have this great feeling of reward when it's all over. And here we are, co-authors of a book, and we're in the top 10 just in the second day.
I know. Can you imagine like what it is like when you have this kind of momentum? And I think I think it goes to the question that Scott has, which is belonging to the brand community. And so I want to back this up just a little bit because it's part of this question too. He doesn't quite know it because belonging to the brand is also a story about, in some ways, Rise and Rise coming about, and they kind of go together. They're peanut butter and jelly, but your community, your Rise community, and we've had a lot of people ask about Rise today. So I definitely want you to talk about Rise, what it is. Lots of people have said, "How can I join Rise?" I'll be honest,
Cool.
I've had several of those during the live streams earlier today. So I would love you to just kind of talk about go back even further to the genesis with Rise.
Yeah. Well, the real genesis was, I don't know, it was like 2020 maybe. I was invited to launch a creator crypto coin. And so I took a risk and did it, and it actually turned out to be fun. And there was a financial benefit. There could be a financial benefit to
Sure.
getting these coins. But here was one of the most amazing things. I did a little poll one time, and I said, "Why do you own this coin? Is it to support Mark Schaefer? Is it to learn about marketing? Is it for a financial investment, or to earn merchandise or something?" I think the numbers were something like 95% of the people own the coin to support me, and like the rest to learn
Raising
about
my
marketing.
hand,
Yeah,
raising my hand.
and it's just like it was like blown. Like, are these people telling me the truth? Are they really? Or are they saying this because this is what they think I want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
But it just turned out to be this new opportunity to connect. And I liked it because having these little coins gave me an opportunity to say, "Thank you. Here's some coins.
Mm-hmm.
You did this nice thing for me. You left a review of my book." So at one point, about maybe a year and a half ago or so, I said, "We need to have a home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just do this newsletter thing. I want people to really get to know each other." And so we said, "Well, should we be on Facebook? Should we be on LinkedIn? Should we be on Slack?" Well, Discord is kind of the hot new place to have a community. I didn't really want to go there. But the comment that pushed me over really came from Ian Anderson Gray. And Ian said, "Look, Mark, if your community is about learning about the future of marketing, we need to learn Discord."
Yes.
Hard
Oh,
to,
yes.
hard to
I mean,
argue
I
with
think
it.
I sent you something like that too. It's like my kids are on Discord. We need to learn Discord.
Well, and I'm glad we did, because I saw statistics this week, Cami, that showed that last year, 2022, 24% of Gen Z was on Discord. And
Yes.
this year, it's 46%.
Wow.
This is where the world is going.
Well, and I'll
So,
just show you this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you probably can't. But it on in my phone,
yeah,
I have like my apps, and I have a kids section. And guess what's in there? Discord's in my kids section.
yeah.
Before our community, I was only on there to communicate with my children. So I just feel like the future is there.
It is, and I've actually grown to love it.
Some days.
Yeah, it can be a
It's a
little
little bit
intimidating,
crazy.
chaotic, but the message about joining the community. So the problem that we solve in Rise is that I get frustrated when you go to an event, a conference. It's iterative. It's about
Mhm.
how do we write better headlines? How do we do better on our Facebook ads or our SEO? And that might be important, but with the rate of change in the world right now, in the next 12 months, we're not even going to recognize marketing. And we need to be learning to be relevant. We need to support each other and help each other and
Yes.
teach each other. And the Rise community has become my university. Every blog post I write somewhere has some idea or inspiration from the community. Every speech I give has something I learned from the community. It's free, it's open, it's global, it's inclusive. The most important job I have in the community is to make it safe. There's no toxicity. We have zero tolerance for toxicity. It's a place where, we support each other, we help each other. You will not find a place with more kinder, generous people, willing to help. And that's the culture of the community, and the purpose of the community is to really, help each other figure out what's going to be next with AI, with Web3, with the metaverse, with generative art, with regulations. We have special guest speakers. We have experiments in the metaverse. We wrote a book together. We're making a podcast together. So there's lots of fun things to get involved with and meet some amazing new friends.
And people are asking how you join, and so
maybe we could put it in the chat or comments or something.
Yeah, somebody will have to put. I don't know if the links will show up in the chat, but if you go to your website,
go to my website,
which is Mark.
Yeah, and at the top of the nav bar it says community, and it shows you how to join. And
so just search for Mark Schaefer in Google, and it will take you right to his website. And there's a community tab at the top. And you do have to send you an email. It's different than a lot of other ones.
Because Zach is helping us with the onboarding. And my concern is that I don't want to just have someone new and just throw them into this without a chance for, say, here's how Discord works, and here's what you might want to, here's where you might want to start. So Zach sort of helps with the onboarding. I don't want to just throw people in. So we start with an email, and Zach will get you involved in the community.
Also, we were talking, we're doing a bunch of podcasts as part of the book launch, which is one of your strategies for marketing a new book. And so we were talking to a podcast host, and they asked, what's the one defining characteristic of the community? And all three of us, I think it was Frank and Yuri and I, said curiosity. Like, the people in that community are all about curiosity. And I think that just that little extra roadblock where you have to go to your website, you have to send out an email, it's just a little bit of extra effort. It's not just join some community and dump in there and see if you like it. It's really all about you have to be in the same vein as the group, in the sense that it's about community, it's about helping each other. And I love that you have no toxicity. One of the things I was going to say is, one of the good things is that you can be a marketer in there, and there's psychological safety if you don't know the answer to something. Do you understand? Like, if you don't, so as a marketer, you go out and if you show any weakness, people are all over you. Like, send out one email with a first name thing. Sorry guys, I did that. Yes. It was an accident. But the bottom line is that it's scary to make a mistake as a marketer with other marketers usually, but not in the Rise community.
No, right. And it's just really amazing how people, if someone's searching for something, so someone will go out and they'll find it and they'll bring it back to the person and say, hey, I think this will help. And it's also quite amazing and inspiring that new business relationships are forming, new collaborations are forming. We've got a new partnership where Karen Abu and Brian Piper, starting this week, we're going to have a monthly open chat about AI. And this is their heart, and this is their passion, and this is what they're excited about. And we all need to be part of these conversations. Valentina, she's going to be on next. She had an idea. She had an article about personal branding in the Harvard Business Review. She said it would be fun to have a discussion about this. So she just started a chat. That's going to be Friday, free, open to everybody. So it's not just me. It's just, everybody now, you have the opportunity to be your own leader, to create your own ideas. Chad, Dan Nessel, and Marion said, we want to start a podcast. I said, okay, as long as I don't have to do any work on it, go start a podcast. So there's lots of new ideas, new collaborations, and everybody can be part of it. Everybody can be part of the podcast. Everybody can be part of the conversations. There's lots of activities going on.
I agree. And somebody also asked me, how do you choose? This is a kind of a loaded question, but how do you choose the leaders in the Rise community? Because there's a lot of leaders that are emerging. So can you talk about leadership in the Rise community and how that happens?
Well, it happens organically, and I think that's one of the things I've learned when I wrote Belonging to the Brand. There's this new mindset, like in marketing, you've got a marketing department and you pay people and you promote people. But in the Rise community or any community, the role of leadership is to watch for the people who are taking the lead, and then reward them and acknowledge them. We've got a comment here from Zach. I mean, that's a good example, right? I mean, Zach's a young guy who has just found his place in our community, and he's just on fire, and he's helpful. And I elevated him to a leadership role, and my job is to make sure that he's seen and heard and appreciated. And that's
You, by the way, give the best compliments ever. Like I got an email from you once and I was like, this guy like knows how to give a compliment.
Oh.
It's just, you really see, it's like you see people, you really see them.
Well, I try to.
And I think that's really good for all of us to do with our communities.
Yeah. I try to. One of my fears is that, because there is so much going on, and sometimes I take days off and everything, that I don't want someone to like say, oh, I thought I really created something great in the community, but Mark didn't acknowledge it, and I feel bad. That's kind of my inner fear. So I really try to pay attention as much as I can, and I try to nurture people. And I think this was an unexpected benefit. And it's something that's the thing I'm probably most proud of, is that I can literally see people grow and flourish in the community. I can literally see them grow and learn, just like month by month by month. Like they're like maturing in this new way. They're participating in this new way. They're bringing in more sophisticated ideas. And I think there's at least a dozen people I can name that would say my career has had a great. Daniel Nessel said it earlier in the live stream. He said my career has gotten a boost by being part of this community. Mine has, because like I said, this is my university. This is how I'm staying relevant, by learning from the people in the community.
It's also inspiring, right? It's inspiring to do different things and new things. Sometimes if you're just sitting in your own little thoughts, a little is the issue. Like it expands your mind.
Yeah. And the other thing, if you join Rise, I mean, there are a lot of conversations. It's okay if you don't want to participate. A lot of people, they're maybe more quiet and they just want to learn. I've had many people, Cammie, say, this is my favorite community. I'm learning so much. And they never even show up. So I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's your style and that's the way you want to, Zach, Mark seedlings.
And then this one too.
In a way. Zach's thing with the proud seedlings, I'm thinking baby Groot.
Baby Groot, yeah. So funny.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But it is.
So now we are at your last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I would like you to give us, like, if there's one thing that you want people to take away from this book, this project, what would it be? And
I'm coming back tonight at 9:00 to talk about my specific chapter on personal branding. But, I think number one, check out the book, for two reasons. Number one, it's extraordinary. I think whether you're experienced or you're just starting out or you're an entrepreneur wearing a lot of hats, you can get something out of this book. But the second reason is just to see what a community can accomplish. I mean, I could not create a book like this. I could not create a live stream like this without the power of this community. And that's what I talk about in belonging to the brand.
Yes, I think this is the biggest case study for how what you talk about in the belonging for the brand works. I mean, you have a lot of case studies in the book, but you've now actioned what you learned and created something that is doing what the belonging to the brand book tells you to do. So it's like it's not fake, it's not something just in the ether, it's not an idea, it's reality. We're sitting here, you're listening to it right now. This is belonging to the brand in
Yeah,
action.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Well, thank you, Kimmy. Great job. Thank you for putting this all together with your team and
Well, and thanks to Ian,
Fiona,
yeah, Ian and
Fiona,
Fiona
and yeah,
especially.
everybody behind the scenes have been working
Yeah,
endless hours
and
on this.
Marcy
Yeah,
for writing the emails. Anyways, it's
yeah.
just been
All
really
right.
great.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you, Kimmy.
All right, thank you
All
too.
right.
Have a great one. See you later. Bye. And it is the penultimate person for this particular live stream. It is the great, the one, the only, Valentina Gonzalez. How are you doing today?
Tammy, I just want to say that I've been tuning in for the past 2.5 hours, or since you started. I think I was at the end of Ian's presentation and slot, and I just thought that you have been having too much fun. I just want to tell everyone, this girl right here has been doing all the work. She deserves a cookie because you have been crushing it, Tammy.
I haven't been doing all the work. I think Ian and some others in the live stream down there would say no, that is not true. The team has been amazing. The team has been amazing. They have Ian Anderson Gray set up all these live streams, which believe me is no small feat. And Fiona has been herding the cats on this one, and like she's been literally over in Australia. She's sleeping right now, so I can talk about her.
Uh-oh.
But unfortunately, she'll probably pop in because
Yeah.
she wakes up every couple of hours and like, I'm here.
Yeah,
Da-da-da.
yeah.
So like, like go to bed, sleep. It's okay. So yeah, we have a great team, and Marcy wrote a bunch of great emails. So if you are on our email list, Marcy from Marcy and Frank earlier in this episode, she wrote a bunch of those emails for us. So yeah, it's been amazing, and you are awesome too. And I cannot wait to hear about your chapter today. And I want to highlight you and what you've done, and also you've been amazing in the Rise community. Very much a welcome wagon, if you want to call it, with that, and making people feel really comfortable there, along with Zach. And so you wrote a chapter on Instagram. And I have to be honest, I have this love-hate relationship with Instagram, even though I'm a social media maven.
I love
I
it.
really don't love it. I mean, it's hard for me. It's like hard for me to remember.
And I
to put it
remember
into
we
my-
talked
to my
about this
day.
in the past. I feel like whenever I do workshops or one-on-one consultations, I always tell people, this is not Instagram to watch your children and see what they're doing on Instagram. This is about growing your presence online. So I think that is something we need to just get this out of the way, Cammie.
Thank you. Well, my children are some of them are not even on Instagram. One of them, the younger ones, aren't on Instagram at all. The 19-year-old is, but the younger teens are on Discord, and mostly Discord.
Okay.
That's where they are. Discord and Snapchat. Snapchat made a big, huge resurgence. That's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But Instagram for business, I think it's a great place for businesses to build a presence and get people to know who they are. So could you kind of give me just a little bit of idea how you got involved? Like, why are you writing about Instagram?
Yeah, well, let me tell you why Instagram is so relevant. So Instagram is the 8th most visited website in the world. Instagram has the 9th most Google search term. Instagram is the 4th most used social platform. Yes, I know you're. Let me repeat that because I'm from Miami, Florida, and I talk fast. It's the 4th most used social platform, and it's Gen Z's favorite platform. Even though a lot of them are on TikTok, all the majority, the big number is on Instagram, and there's 2 billion monthly active users. So it's a no-brainer that businesses, I cater mostly to small businesses, should be utilizing Instagram to engage with their audiences.
Wow. I mean, I kind of know that, but like just putting it in those terms makes it really real, I guess, real. The problem is, of course, well, not just Reel, but also Instagram has changed a lot in the last couple of years, I feel like, in my mind. So, can you kind of talk about that, like sort of the switch over Reels and the TikTok kind of intrusion, if you want to call it that? Could you talk about how things have
Yeah,
changed
I
on
think
Instagram?
it's all about the reels. It's all about these short videos, the attention span. We keep talking about this as marketers. The attention span of our audiences is changing. So we're creating these new ways and opportunities to engage with them, utilizing videos such as reels. My thing is stories. I spend a lot of time looking at stories. Like right now, I was watching you, I think it was with Frank and Marcy, and I was having a very sad, pathetic sandwich, but I turn on my stories to keep me company when I'm, not enjoying my food. So a lot of my clients, when you see stories, you can see, and the number right now, it might fluctuate, but it's like 700 to 800 million people are utilizing stories every day. So stories is still really
Yeah, I love
relevant.
them.
When you look at the analytics, and I preach on looking at the numbers, you can see the eyeballs, the faces of people looking at your stories. And I can't tell you, half those people never engage, never interact with my newsfeed posts, but they come back every day to look at my stories. So as a marketer, as a small business owner, it's imperative to keep a story active every day, because I think about those people that always look at my stories and tune in. One thing we're going to talk about is consistency. Every Wednesday,
Hmm.
I have a mastermind networking group that I meet up in person, and I get there like 10 minutes early. And when I get there, I record a video every Wednesday. And
Oh, that's a nice. You peg it with something.
yeah,
I like how you peg it with an actual thing you're doing. Oh, so smart.
yeah,
So smart.
I think Mark talks about this in his one of the books that he just recently wrote, is the tribe, is the community. After COVID, after the pandemic, we're all feeling lonely. So what is that one thing you can do? To me, my Instagram stories, the people that tune in every week or every day, they're my tribe. So I have to put myself out there. I can't tell you, as a small business owner, I've worked with so many business owners in the past 11 years that I've been a business owner, and they're like, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to be behind the picture. I don't want to, I don't want to be seen. But if
Hmm.
you don't put yourself out there, your competitor will, and they'll go to your competitor instead.
Oh, that is so powerful. I mean, because it's not like if you don't put up a story, it's no big deal because nobody really misses you
No.
per se, because there's always plenty of stories there, right? But I like how you peg it with something. So you're doing an in-person meeting, but what about people like who literally are there with their pathetic sandwich, like me, who never go out? Well, I mean, I do like once a month or twice. I mean, I don't really go too often
Yeah.
into like public settings. I often feel like this is just like boring. I love, we were talking about Be Real
Yeah.
earlier,
I
and my
heard
Be
about that. I
Real will
heard that
go
with
off.
Samantha. Yes.
Right. But the one thing that's sad about my Be Real is if you follow me, is that often the times it's just my computer screen. Because I'm like, all I'm ever doing is sitting behind the stupid computer screen.
And
So
that's
yeah,
my
people are
personal
probably bored with
recommendation.
that.
I think it's super important to actually physically see whether you're involved in a volunteer thing. Like I'm involved with Rotary International, so every Monday I see my people in Rotary, and then my mastermind networking group meets on Wednesdays in person. And it does help having that community, that those people that are in your group, that if someone's like, I need a marketer to help me with my small business, they're all going to comment on social media, say, go see Valentina, go see Valentina, or go see Cami, go, for, and it's good to have that personal accountability for people that are not in your industry to support you.
Yeah. Well, and shout out to my social media breakfast of Houston that I run here in Houston. I do that once a month. And that is like built-in content at least once a month. That is awesome. But you're so right that it's so funny you're saying this because it's counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Social media also requires some in-person contact. It's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
because the thing is that you're going to get more likes, more engagement by the people you see in real life, and they're like, okay, that's
Hmm.
Valentina. I want to help her with that book that she just came out today. So they're
Yeah.
emotionally invested in you.
Yeah. And you're invested in them.
Yeah.
It's like community. We've been talking about all different kinds of communities, and like Rise, for example, is a virtual community, but you're talking about local, super hyper local community that's real. Like they're people. Like you go in person.
Yeah.
And I think the P word. I'm not going to say it on this live
Okay.
stream,
Whoops.
but the P word. Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't. That has been a damper for that because I think we got used to staying in our own little cocoon, and like we know we should go out, like the time comes to leave and we're like, I don't know if I can get out of here. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, so I
Or how
have
are you
kids that are
overcoming it?
still kind of small, and so if it's at night,
Mm-hmm.
forget it. If you're not paying me or feeding me, I
Yeah,
won't go
me
out
too.
at night. But if it's during the
Yeah,
day, I
same.
have no excuse. I should be there. I should be present. And you have to have these little tribes where you get emotionally there, invested in helping each other. So I think it's important to put yourself out there. For the introverts in the group, it's going to be harder for you, but just think about it. Your biggest strength is your listening skills. When you hang out with someone like me, all you do is talk. We need introverts to listen to us.
Yeah, we kind of do. You and I are both extroverts, but that's obvious a little bit. But one of the things that I think is interesting, we're talking about Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring this back a bit. And what's hilarious is we're talking about in-person meeting and Instagram. And often I'll get people ask me like, well, should I buy followers or should I buy somebody to follow me on Instagram or whatever? And so can you kind of address that, like just that need to be seen on Instagram and the sheer numbers? Like my kids don't think anything is popular unless it has millions and millions of followers.
Yeah, I think it's depends. Like, if my clientele is more like the local mom and pops locally, and I have some clients that are out of the region and the area, but I think it's important to be real. These are fake people. If you're buying these followers, they're not real people. And I think people can tell that those followers, if they were to search for you, say, oh, is this a real, they have 10,000 followers. Is this a real thing? They'll look at your followers and they're going to see the ones with the crazy number variations and be like, okay, that's not real.
No, that's true. And I think right now, like authenticity is so important, and building those communities and relationships with your customers are huge. So let's talk about your chapter a little bit. So you have 10 tips. I don't want you to give them all away,
Okay.
but like if there's like one, I want you to give like one, like maybe one or two, or maybe something where people have an aha going away from this live stream. How should people be approaching making content for their Instagram specifically? I think it feels like Instagram is a content hog. Like it needs
yeah.
so much content.
There's so many things I want to throw at you. I'm the type of person that I think I'm a two on the Enneagram, so I want to share all the resources, all the fun stuff with you, the hashtags, the location. We talked about stories. So when you add the location to your post, it gets 79% more engagement. When you just utilize one hashtag, you get 70% more likes and 392% more comments on your post just with one hashtag. So utilizing hashtag is great. And, also keywords. Right now it's changed. Hashtags are so great. They're going to get you found. People follow hashtags. But I consider the big thing is the keywords, putting keywords rich. And I always get my little cookie monster out. I'm going to be funny. I love cookies and
I love it.
So I think about like the cookie monster. You want to feed it cookies. Instagram, you want to feed it keywords. You want to feed it words that you are known for. The stuff that's like related to your industry, the town, the city that you cater to. If you are a small local business, utilizing keywords, adding that into your captions and your copy is going to help you get more seen on the Explorer when people are searching. I don't know about you, Cami, but where I live and where Mark lives, we have a big influx of people moving here to Northeast Tennessee from Texas, from Florida, from New York, from California. Yeah. So using these keywords, if you're local, if your business is a local thing, getting those keywords of neighboring towns and cities and utilizing the hashtags as well is going to be very helpful to help you increase your visibility to the networks. So again, we talked about,
but not just stuffing them in there. Like you want it to be talk about that a little bit, because I don't want people to come away and go and just put a caption with like 15 cities that are nearby.
Yeah, well, unless it's a small town like mine that I have 15 cities nearby. But it's I think it's a hard thing to say, but it's like kind of like a blog post. When you you upload a picture onto your Instagram, whether it's a reel or a picture, utilizing, I love it. Hold on, let me see the feed Instagram keywords like cookie monster cookies. I love it. I'm having.
I had to put that up. Thanks, Sandy.
Sandy, I appreciate that. It's just thinking about it like you upload a picture and it's basically like a blog post. It's a story. What was so special about the cookie monster? Well, this is from my husband's childhood and I kept it since the 80s. Like there's a story behind that picture. There's a story behind the scenes. And again, it goes back to what is your why? Mark Schaefer talks about this in all his branding and personal branding stuff is what is your why? only I, only we. What is it that you do that makes you stand out from everyone else that's doing kind of something similar to what you do?
So I'm glad you said that. I know what you mean when you say what is your
Yeah.
why, but could you just go a little bit more into detail of what you mean by what is your why?
So, what is your why? What do you do that makes you get up every morning? You need to tell your audiences, why is it that you're so invested in helping children? Was there something that happened in your childhood that made you want to give back to the community when you were able to financially or, with resources? So those sort of things tells a story to your customers. I was joining my husband yesterday while he was getting a haircut, and I met the owner. I hadn't seen him in 7 years. Since then, he got married, he had children. I'm like, what is your why? What made you start this barber shop place? And I'm like, are you a barber? He's like, not even a barber, but he couldn't find a good barber locally. That's a tongue twister today. He couldn't find someone locally, so he started his own barber shop. So, and it was
Wow, that's like so cool.
and he's the only male person in the barbershop. All the people that physically cut hair are women. So it's like yeah.
So it's crazy you say that because you never know where if you solve your own problem, sometimes you're solving the problem of so many others. Yeah, that's really, really impressive. And then that's a great story, right? So that's just endless reams of content.
And it's the most masculine place you've been to. It's I was thinking about Mark Schaefer yesterday because I went inside and they have like apparel and clothes, and one says Tennessee. For anyone that's not from Tennessee, it's hard to pronounce Tennessee, so it's just the word the letter 10, the number 10 C. And I was like, this, like the stuff they sell in the store is so manly, but it's all women that work there except for the owner that's a male.
That's really interesting. And you just can have like, so do you do a lot of like interviews with these small business owners? I'm just wondering, I found it's hard to get a lot of content out of people that's real, like that's not just color blocked, Canva graphics or something like that, which we use a lot of, even for this, we've used it. And so, because it's hard because we don't live all in the same areas. So it's hard to get like true pictures of people. So can you kind of tell me how you manage to get content out of people?
Yeah, so it's you have to dig deep, you have to spend time, you have to be patient. I'm not a very patient person, but I am with children and my clients. So it's taking the time to ask the right questions and just get to know, maybe spend another 20 minutes versus an hour with your client and really understand where they're coming from. And back to the barber story yesterday, he named the business after his grandfather. So I thought that anyone that has a bond with their grandfather, or someone that wasn't raised with their grandfather, would be like, that's such a sweet story. And it's just asking the right questions and not being afraid to put yourself out there and putting the Cookie Monster on an interview. It's being silly and having that openness to say, hey, I'm going to put myself out there. Maybe you can too, because this is going to benefit you so people can find you.
I love that. I'm also going to do something fun here because you are my social media maven, so you won't mind me doing this. Okay. But I've been wondering what this was the whole time. It says now comments will display here. So if you guys leave us a comment, we can see it together.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, Sandy, you might need to put the
Isn't that cool? Yeah. Cookie Monster. Yeah, it's obviously the ones that already are in there are not coming up. But I would love to see if you guys would put comments in here so we can see. So if you're still listening, add a comment in, like a question for Valentina about Instagram. That is great. I love what Ian said. He said, that's really helpful. I have to admit, I don't enjoy Instagram, but I'd like to enjoy it so I can build my presence on there. That is such a good attitude, Ian. Such a good attitude. I need to learn from that attitude. I want to love it too. I really do, because it's really such a powerful channel and such a great place to be. I would love it. So I don't know if anybody's here. No, they are. If you're here, I need your help. Put a comment in there. We'll put some in a minute if you guys get started.
Well, take it off speaking of which, you should put the book, the QR code thingy.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Thanks for the reminder. See, you're helping me out here. So the book. This is the book, and we would love for you to go over there and purchase the book, because right now it is on sale, the Kindle version anyway, for $2.99. And that's only going to be there for like another, I think, till the 26th or something. Okay. It's just only a week, something roughly like that. And so you can scan the QR code right here as you're watching this, scan it, and then it will take you to Amazon in your country. So if you're like from a different country, it's okay. You can scan this. It won't take you to the American one. It'll take you to yours. I think the only place it didn't work when we tested it was Australia, but try it anyway. It might work for you. So that's been a really cool thing that Ian put together. And then also, I would love for you to grab a copy of like the instant replay. So if you're not on my email list for this, if you didn't get here from an email, I would love for you to sign up for one more QR code. And it's this one. So you can screenshot this if you want to. And that's our instant replay hub. And it is actually right now it's not a replay hub. It's just the landing page for this event. But if you put your email address in the landing page for this event, you will be on the email list to get the hub, which is a searchable hub of all the videos from all 24 roughly hours of content, which is a lot of content. It's a lot of content. And so it's a great way for us to share it with you in a way that is digestible for you, that you can find the person you want to find, you can find the topic, any of it. It also has, all the things you need, including like transcripts. It's an amazing hub. So I hope you will get that hub. Right now, also, I do have, the current videos playing in there. So like you can see when current video is playing. So that is what that is. Thank you for that reminder. And also, while I'm reminding you things, if you've been watching this long, could you please share this live stream with your audience? Because if you've gotten even one thing out of this, I would just ask you to please share it with your audience for them to get something out of it too. We cannot do this without you sharing as well. And that's what social media is about. And that's what Instagram is about. So back to you and Instagram.
Tammy, I wanted to do a shout out. I know you were talking a lot about this with Mark in the previous session here.
Yes.
You don't want, for anyone that's watching here that's not part of the Discord community, you gain friends. Like Frank just commented and Zach just commented. And I think people don't realize how close you could become with these folks on the Discord community. Like I've mailed Frank 2 cards in the mail all the way to Ireland. Like I had to go to the post office and get a special stamp just for him and Marcy. So, and Zach, he's such a sweetheart because he takes the time out of his day to welcome all the new people. But you kind of grow a bond with these individuals. And especially if you go to Mark's Uprising event, I know he just had one here in Knoxville and the next one is coming up in Ireland. You really go to these, it's a 3-day retreat. You really come out of it, not only learning and getting your mind expanded with these individuals that are the speakers, but you kind of become friends with these individuals and you're sad for like a week. You're like, I can't believe I'm not going to see them till who knows when. So it's really good to have this online community, like I said, with the Discord group. So I just wanted to do a shout out to them and Sandy. I think Sandy just commented as well, but it's so important to really not just do stuff online, and in person, but really take the time to cultivate these relationships because I think we're all trying to be there for each other.
No, 100%. And you are so great at that. Like, I just feel like Valentina is very good at that. And so that's why I think, she's got some great ideas for you and you need to listen up. And by the way, I've got some questions for you.
Okay.
I was just, what do you call it? Not patient enough. There's a little delay on these things. And so I wasn't patient.
Okay.
Shocking. Thoughts on Instagram versus competitors like TikTok?
It just depends on what your audience is. To me, let me just put this out there, disclose this. I am not on TikTok, so I maybe not be the best person to answer this question, but I only utilize Instagram, and there's a certain amount of people that use Instagram versus TikTok. So I might move on to the next question just because I disclosed that.
It's okay. I think, I'll say something about TikTok versus Instagram Reels. I mean, again, they kind of are slightly different audiences. I will say, do not use your TikTok and upload it to Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'll say about that because Instagram doesn't like that and they won't show your stuff to anybody.
That's what I've heard too. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a question I saw there about stories versus Reels.
Well, I have one here.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there in a minute, but I've got Zach's up here, so that's the next one. Yeah, Instagram versus Reels. Yeah, I'll find that one. Could you answer this one while I look for that one?
Okay. So the stories versus Reels, again, it comes back to where your audience is at. if they're seeing stories, and like I said, a lot of people are only looking at the news feed, so maybe that's a great place to put the reels versus the stories. A lot of people only see stories. I've asked around, so it just depends. Reels does get more traction, it does get more engagement, but if you know your audience is looking at stories more, then maybe you post your reel and then share it to your stories.
No, I love that. Yeah, and you can do that. So that's really powerful way to do it. Um, are you excited about the new update allowing up to 4 links on your profile? Says
I
that.
guess who wouldn't be excited about having a chance to showcase more links to wherever you have to direct people to? So yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool too. But I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not telling you what to do because that's how I feel, but I don't like it as much because it's like you want people to focus on what you want them to focus on at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you give me 4 links, I'm going to probably click on the one. Yeah, it's going to dilute it. So I guess it depends on what your call to action is.
Yeah, like for
I don't know.
example,
What do you think about
I
that?
use Linktree, and I mentioned this in the book and in the
Yeah.
chapter. I use Linktree because I have my blog, I have upcoming events, I have a side hustle.
Yeah.
So I want people. I post this, and I also mentioned this in the book as well. There is a way to post stories exclusively to closest friends. That could be VIPs. That could be a side hustle that you want no one to know about. So I love the fact that you could have multiple links in case you have different, side passions.
Yeah, I think that's great too. And that's why I like sending them to a landing page where you can capture a couple of things. Number one, you can ask them to do something.
Yeah.
Number two, you can put in like a little tracking kind of
Yes.
thing for the lack of a purpose that allow you to retarget them, like on an advertising, Facebook especially. You can do that as long as you put in the right, all of the right, stuff on it. I know for the US it's a little bit more wild than say in the UK or somewhere like that. You have few more rules over there. So you just have to have your TOC, your table of your terms of service, TOS, and your privacy policies, and you have to let people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like the one thing about any social media platform is that it's not owned by you, and the algorithm could change at any given second, right? So what do you think about that? So how do you tell your clients, like, here, invest all this time in this platform that could like suddenly decide that they're not going to show your stuff to anybody anymore? Like, hello Twitter, hello Facebook. Anyway,
It's funny that you say that because
That's my
I think
question.
the hardcore people, the diehard fans, no matter what changes with the algorithm, they will continue seeing your post because they recognizes those core people. It might not be a lot, but those core people are always going to find your content and engage with it.
No, I agree with that. And one of the things that you could talk about maybe is a little bit about engagement in general, and how the algorithm works. So talk a little bit about the engagement and the algorithm and how that works.
So to be honest with you, I don't think anyone really knows what the algorithm is and what really works. It could vary. Like today, something might be happening like Reels or using stories, and then the next day it might change drastically to something else. So I really think that the real people don't know what gets the most traction other than being authentic, being consistent, being there, always posting a story, and I think Sandy had mentioned this in one of the questions, being consistent, putting yourself out there, showing up, posting at least once a week, having a story that's available. That is always going to be something that will work for you on Instagram.
Yeah, and the algorithm does know who you talk to and who talks to you. So they will show if you are engaging. If you're not engaging at all on Instagram, it won't show your stuff to anybody, or very few. It's going to be less. And of course, you were talking about prioritization. Like Instagram will prioritize whatever's the newest thing it's trying to push. So if it's Reels, they're going to be prioritizing Reels. If it's something else, they're going to be prioritizing that. Like when stories first came out, they prioritized stories. I don't know. They're going to prioritize what they prioritize. So you need to kind of shift with the content.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm rebellious. I don't do Reels as much as everyone else does. I just want to be different. I don't want to use Reels all the time. I don't understand it. I feel like it's confusing. It's too fast. It drives me crazy when I see reels and there's just too many things going on. It just, the way my body absorbs it or interprets it, it doesn't help me at all when I see reels.
Yeah, I agree. And Sandy, she uses LinkedIn more, but she says consistency is key. I spend more time on LinkedIn. The more I post, the more people see my posts. I think it might be true for you too, but and you may say the same thing, but all platforms are like that because the platform wants you to engage with you. They want you to stay on the platform. That's the whole point of the platform.
They don't want you moving around. Yeah.
Yeah. So the more you engage there, the more it's going to like you.
Yeah.
Super good. So we're now at the end. I cannot believe we talked our way right through that. Not shocking. You and I. Uh, so tell me if you could say, what is the one thing that you want people to get out of your chapter in the book? Tell me what that would be. And as you talk about that one thing, I'm going to pull up the QR code for people to go grab the book. I'm going to actually give you the one to the hub because I think the hub, you can get the book on the hub too, by the way. So just if you go here, you can get the book, you can get on the list, you can get everything in the hub. So what is one thing you want people to take from this? Let me
I
know.
want people to think, to be consistent, to not be afraid to put yourself out there, and to think of this as a communication tool, not a sales strategy, but just a way to keep people in the loop of what you're doing to impact others or how your business benefits others. For in the area, whether it's your locally or just what you do, what do you do that matters to people out there. If you think of it as that, it won't be sales pitchy, it won't be scary, it won't be intimidating, it won't be like homework. It'll be something that you enjoy doing and that you look forward to doing on Instagram, is engaging with your customers, your audiences, your prospects.
That's awesome. And with all of that, you've brought us to the very end of the third segment of the 24 hours of amazing marketing content. And we are going to take a short 30-minute break and go to this instant replay hub, and I am going to be putting the next video up there so you can find it there. And every time that these end, I'm going to be putting another video up. So for those of you who are hosts, maybe you can share this at the end of each of your streams. And that is what we're going to be doing. So take a break, get something to drink, go to the bathroom, pop some
Get a piece of
popcorn.
chocolate.
Oh yeah, you had chocolate. I meant to put that up earlier. You were eating some chocolate. I have not eaten anything all day. I forgot to eat. I need to go eat something.
Be careful, Cammie. You need
I'll
to
be
eat
fine.
something.
I'm going to go have lunch. And I'm going to watch the next one over lunch while you guys are like working really hard. I'm going to be watching you. And the next one is coming up in half an hour. And again, like go to this hub, grab that information from there, and you'll be able to go on to the next one. So yeah, and I'll be here I think I'm on at like 10 o'clock at night, or 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, my time, for my chapter. And I really look forward to that. With my friend Fiona, who is sleeping right now, I hope, and in Australia. And so we will be on later tonight. I'll be talking about my chapter. But in the meanwhile, thank you guys so much. And Valentina, thank you for staying with me till the end. I love you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
We love you too.
All of that. Okay. Awesome, guys. I am going to put up the graphic that says we're going to be back soon. Here we go.
All right. Bye.
Bye.